YouTube, what's up, everybody? How's it going? Sorry, we're a little bit late here. I'm having some technical difficulties. So, hey, we are back for part 2 of our Voivod deep dive. I am joined by the illustrious Marty Worm up there in the... Nope, that way. No, that way. That way. That way. Anyway. Yep. Down this way here is Matt from the Dark Path, and Marty Worm's from the Marty Worm channel and the Heavy Metallurgy podcast, YouTube streamcast, whatever it's called there. Also, the new venture is the Glorious Dead Tea and Crumpet sessions.
Yes, right. The Glorious Album Club. Yes,
right. Macaroons and tea at 9 o'clock on Wednesday nights.
Yep.
With a bunch of hairy fucking dudes, I will say. There's a lot of hair, except for
They make me jealous. I'm the grandpa of the band.
Of course.
Hair is for posers. Come on.
That's
man.
true. Hair is for losers. And then we've got over in the corner here, I don't know, whatever fucking way it is, we've got Devon from Maze of Torment. Thank you, sir. And are you legal to drink, young man? But anyway, so we're going to get into this part 2 deal, the Voivod catalog. Before we do that, I want to make a couple quick program notes here. Number 1, again, thanks to Dreadful Rick and his amazing artistic talents. He didn't have to work hard on this second part here, just changed a little text, but he did, if you note, changed up the Voivod logo, which was pretty badass. And he also put part 2 in there, which is cool, and the color changes. So... Rick, thanks as always. You rock. You're fucking badass.
Rick, you rule. You rule. You rule.
He does. Secondly, I'm hoping next week to get started on a 2 or 3 part deep dive of Enslaved.
Well, I thought we were gonna do a small discography first to break it up in between.
We may, but since it's my channel, how about we let me say what we're gonna do? How's that sound? Sound like a plan there, buddy? I don't know. If we get around to doing this in-between thing, we'll try. I've got a lot going on. I'm going to be doing a lot of tests coming up, and there's going to be a lot of shit going on. So we'll try. But the goal is to get this Enslaved thing rolling, and it's going to be at least 2 parts, maybe 3 parts. We'll have to see how that
big
works
discography
out, so.
For sure.
Yes, it is. And now I got Naked. What the hell was that? Naked HD.
Awesome.
Well,
I got to go, guys. I got Naked HD waiting for me right now.
Okay. Now, okay. Yeah, and I can't get rid of it. It's saying an error occurred. Try refreshing.
It says that they were already blocked, so it'll disappear. As more people talk in the comments, the 18-year-old naked person is going to leave. So everyone shut the hell up.
Awesome. I will try to do a little bit more with comments tonight as best I can. We'll see how that rolls because I don't have the 3rd person or the 5th person joining us tonight. So we don't have that added stress there. But we got a lot to go over here. There's 8 albums to go over, and I got a lot to say about some of these. Some I don't have much to say at all. That's a good thing. Or it could be a bad thing. Yeah. So, lastly, I'm sure most people are aware now that last night we had another rock and roll casualty, and we lost Taylor Hawkins from the band Foo Fighters. Now, I'm not a huge Foo Fighters fan. I don't hate him. I don't love him. But, he seemed like a pretty fucking cool guy, and he was a pretty goddamn good drummer. You got to be a pretty good drummer to be on stage with Dave
and
Grohl.
a good singer. I mean, he had
good singer.
Yeah, they had like a cover band and all this other stuff, too.
Yeah. He had a band with Dave Navarro and I forget the bass player that's playing with him. I think the guy in Porno for Pyros or something like that. Really sad. Don't want to speculate, but there are some concerning reports kind of popping out.
He's had problems before, and they were in Colombia.
I wasn't aware of that. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. That kind of surprised me a little bit. So it's a shame, man. I mean, he seemed like a good dude, and he was a big fan of Rush. Yeah,
wife and kids.
Yeah. So, from the bottom of my heart, it sucks. I'm sure Dave's pretty crushed. I'm sure the rest of the band's pretty. And I'll tell you, if you saw Instagram, and last night was fucking crazy, man. It's just post after post after post, and people posting pictures, and sad deal, man. Sad fucking deal. And what's really hits home about that, especially for Marty and I, is that guy is your age, Marty, and he's 6 years younger than me.
Yep.
Well, almost. I'll be 56 on Thursday if I wake up every day from here until then.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, it's a bummer. And, you know, rip Taylor Hawkins. So
Crazy.
all right. So we ready to get rolling on this, guys?
Yeah.
All right. Little back. Let's step back for a second or two here real quick and kind of summarize where we were at when we left off. And we left off at The Outer Limits, which came out in 97, correct? No, not 97.
93, I think.
93, correct. And at that point in time, they were still signed to MCA Mechanic. And, you know, it really should have been a much bigger album than it was, but they kind of went through from Nothing Face, which was their biggest selling album, until The Outer Limits, that trio of albums, which is, we all talked pretty highly of, as I recall. Most of us really feel pretty strongly about those three albums. A lot of the rest of the world didn't. And the MCA was kind of banking on trying to push them into the big leagues with Angel Rat, and it didn't really happen. And so at that point, when The Outer Limits came out, afterwards, and they did some touring, and by the way, Blackie had left the band during Angel Rat, during the mixing of Angel Rat, with due to a lot of tensions between him and Way and Piggy, and you know, he was not happy with the Terry Brown choice producer, and so he left, and they used a fill-in bassist or a session bassist to play on The Outer Limits and then tour with them. And then when that was finished, then Snake left. So we're down to two guys for the band at this point. We're down to Michel Lansman, Away, the drummer, and Piggy, Dennis Moore. So what happens at that point is they go out and they find a singer and bass player all in one. And this guy's name was Eric Forrest. And he joins the band, and he came from a band called Thunder Circus, and the Liquid Indian was the other band. I did not check those bands out. Have either of you guys checked them out at all, or any of you guys?
I remember back in the day, a publicist guy up in Canada for Black Mark Productions, Ed Balog, was telling me about them. He was laughing about it when Eric Forrest joined Voivod. He's like, that's a hilarious choice, because that Thunder Circus band he came from was basically a glam band. So he thought Voivod was kind of picking the wrong guy, but yeah.
But
yeah.
But so I don't know, you know, obviously Devon's not going to be able to speak to this very well. And Matt, you probably aren't either, because you weren't around when that happened. But I remember it quite well. I remember hearing the news, and it was probably in Kerrang that I probably read about it, that Piggy had left, or that Snake had left, excuse me. And I got to tell you, man, I was just like, nah, no way. I'm not into this. No matter what, I'm not going to be into this. And I did. I listened to Negatron when it dropped, and I just was like, fuck this. This is not Voivod. This is not the band that I know and love. It's not Nothing Face. It's not, we'll pull it up here. All right, go ahead, show it again. There we go. So let me I'm going to, while you show it, and start to talk about it in a minute here, I'm going to do a little bit of my history of the album, but I have to bounce out of, I have to go into a different screen. Sorry about that, but let me pull that up here. So, Negatron comes out November 21st, 1995 on Hypnotic Records worldwide, Mausoleum in the U.S., recorded in Toronto, produced by Voivod and Darren Barry and a guy named Albi Annabolini. And this is the first with Eric Forrest, who was in Liquid Indian and Thunder Circus. And, I've got a lot of notes on this, but I'll let Matt kind of go first. We'll kind of do what we did last time with the sequence of events. So go ahead. Give us some thoughts on that one there, Matt.
All right. So just a couple of things I wanted to bring up really quick before we jump into this album. We did not mention this in the last Voivod deep dive, but if you did not know or pay attention, every single album by Voivod has a different Voivod logo. Away did a different logo for every single album. There's not a single album that has the same logo more than once.
Some better than others.
Some better than others. I mean, you look at Negatron here, and that is not my favorite Voivod logo. But
nor cover.
I love that cover.
I kind of like the cover. It's not great.
I love that cover.
It's not great, but I think it fits the album, the style of the album, very well. This is also an album that comes with one of those really fun old QuickTime videos that I have never been able to watch because I can't get it to work on my computer.
Those things are a pain in the ass.
Yeah, there's such a pain in the ass, and I think about 10 years ago is when they finally killed the compatibility stuff for all of that.
Yeah.
And
total garbage.
Total garbage. Terrible quality. The video would be like the size
tiny
of
little
this
box
right here. It was awful. And the last thing I wanted to bring up on this is, like you said, Mausoleum Records put this out here in the United States. Mausoleum was a very short-lived imprint of BMG Records. So it was kind of a major label release, maybe, but like a depends how you view what your view of BMG is. But there you go. That I just wanted to get that out of the way before we get into it.
So it was an imprint label then, kind of like Lava was for Atlantic Records back when they had like
exactly. And I don't know too much about anything else that Eric Forrest had done. I had never heard any of his projects before this, but I absolutely loved what he brought to Voivod. I thought he was a very good replacement vocalist for Snake, and the fact that he was a bass player meant that they could just be a power trio for a little while after this. So this album also, it kind of brought the heavy back to the Voivod sound. Voivod had done a long string of really proggy stuff, and this album kind of abandoned that prog, that really heavy prog influence that it had, and it really brought back a little bit of the older heavy sound. And I don't know if that was because that's what Eric Forrest wanted to do, or if that's just where Piggy was at, writing wise. I don't know what the deal was there. Someone with more techno savvy can look that up for me, but because of that, I really liked what he brought to this album because it did bring that heaviness back. And this has some of my favorite Voivod songs on here. I mean, I love Insect, Project X, Nano Man, Cosmic Conspiracy. I mean, those are just banger tracks off of this album. And I thought this was a great album. It was totally ignored by everybody because it was kind of a forgotten band that had changed singers, and it just didn't really get the press that I think it deserved. And I think to some people, maybe it had kind of an odd sound to it because it does start off with a little bit of a groovy kind of a riff that I don't know how that played with people. I know Devon, when he first heard this, he thought it sounded like groove metal or new metal or something like that.
No way.
And like to me, like I can hear that in that one guitar riff on the first song on this album, but that's it. If you listen to this whole album, this is not a groove metal album at all. It doesn't have anything that sounds remotely like new metal on it, except for that one riff. So you look beyond that, and you've got one banger of a Voivod record here, and it's one of my favorites. I would definitely put this in my top 10 of Voivod albums. And it's not my favorite of the Eric Forrest era. We'll get to that next. But I think this is a great record for people to check out if they never have. Those are my 2 cents on Negatron.
Okay, so Jurgen says Roar and Killing Technology had the same logo. Did they?
No, they do not. I
didn't think they did.
No,
I don't think they did, Jurgen. And Jurgen's the Voivod guy, but I thought on the Roar, or not Roar, was on Killing Technology they added the guns.
All right, Mr. Jurgen. So that's War and Pain. Oh wait, you said Roar and Killing. Oh well, maybe you're right.
Yeah, they have.
Right.
They have.
Eat that crow, bitch! Eat that crow.
That is a tasty crow, but that's Roar.
Yeah, they have the same one. I'm looking at it now.
All right, why didn't we have Jurgen on here? We should have had Jurgen do the whole stream.
Yeah.
It's probably like what is it like 2 a.m. in Germany?
Yeah, Jurgen doesn't care.
He's
He's a night owl.
crow that I just ate. It was so delicious.
And Nebulous Prower says Dimension Hatros also had the same one. Did it? Really?
Did it?
Well, we're actually being schooled, so this deep dive is now canceled as of right now.
Jeez, Matt, you're stupid.
Jeez, Matt, way to fucking go, Matt. Thanks. Hopefully Dan Mongrain's not watching. I invited him to watch, so.
All right, so just a little bone of contention. So killing technology, if you look at it, it's very similar.
But it's very not similar. Exact.
But there are some differences, very minor differences, but there are differences.
You can see on the edges the little fans that come out there, right? The fins.
And on Dimension Hatros, it also is a little bit different. It's a little bit more rounded. So I stand by my statements.
All right, well, here we go. All right, so was that? Did you have anything more to
get me off the big screen?
Get you off the screen? Okay. All right. Okay. Hang on. All right. Hang on here. All right. Okay. Devon, why don't we go to you next this time? We'll leave me and Marty for last.
Okay, so my opinion definitely changed on this record for a good thing. I used to think this record was kind of boring, but I've come to really appreciate this record. I don't own it yet. I'll get it eventually, but I'm not gonna say there's slightly group metal like 90s influences. What's the one song? Is it Reality maybe, or Negatron were the closest they ever got to having like a breakdown, like where there's just like a simple drum beat, like a almost like Fear Factory type, like just simple like chugging riff. But
hey, Brian, fuck you. Just kidding. I love you, dude. You know that.
No, you don't. He's being a jackass, but anyway.
No, I'm not. Go ahead.
So of the two with Eric Forster, this is definitely my favorite. The other one's good too, but this one I think is definitely the most underrated record, which if you would have asked me 6 months ago, I definitely wouldn't have been saying that, but this record's solid now, so.
But why is that? Because you haven't listened. You've only listened to it for this deep dive for the most part, right?
No, I checked it out when I was first going through the discography a while ago. Maybe I just wasn't in the right mood, but
it was groove metal. It was groove metal when you first listened to it, but then it changed.
Like part of it, but no, it's more like maybe because it's like more simplistic. It's not really proggy. It's more just kind of mid-paced and like not progressive.
I don't think it's less complex. There's a lot of really fucked up riffs in that album.
Yeah, I know that.
I think I kind of get what Devon's saying though. He's right, because it does tone down that proggy stuff that was really heavy on the previous 3 albums. So if you were a big fan of that proggy stuff and then you went and you listened to Negatron, you might be like, what the hell? But I think when you listen to Negatron compared to the earlier stuff, I think it makes a lot more sense. It doesn't make sense as an album that comes out right after the heavy prog stuff, but it makes sense with the first 3 albums. I think it would follow. If Negatron came out after Killing Technology or even before Killing Technology, I think it would have fit right in.
It's less thrashy though.
Well, it's less thrashy, but I hear a lot more of the angular, dissonant guitar riffs, the chugging, the kind of.
And it was 1990, and it was 1995 too. Nobody was doing thrash metal riffs in 1995 if they were, not an old legacy band that wasn't hanging up their hat yet. And Voivod had kind of moved beyond being a thrash band at that point anyway. So,
well, yeah, by far, a long time gone from that. Yeah. I mean, I guess when we say groove, when I think of groove metal, I think of Pantera, even though I like Pantera somewhat, but I mean, I that's what I think of when I think of groove metal. And I don't really hear that in Voivod at all.
No.
I just don't. That very first riff, I know what you're talking about though, Matt. That down, 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 and it's so angular and jagged and cutting, and it comes in. It's almost abrasive, and so I just don't hear groove in this. But maybe if that's the one you're referring to,
not really
I guess
groove.
I
It's
can
more
kinda
just
hear
kind of mid-paced, but some groove metal you could argue is more like mid-paced thrash, I guess, but it's not really that. It's kind of like more mid-paced.
Yeah, this album definitely isn't thrashy. I mean, there's some parts of it that speed up, but it's not a thrash album at all. Like Matt said, they'd kind of, to me, they had left a lot of that thrash behind almost by partly in Dimension. Yeah, really, to me. You know, Nothing Face doesn't have any real thrash on it, and Angel Rat certainly doesn't. And so, all right, Marty, what you got?
Eric Forrest was. I mean, I think I mentioned last time. I seen interviews with Voivod were like, well, if any one of us leaves, the band's got to break up because it's the four, one all for one, one for all type of thing. And hearing that, Blackie left and now Snake left, I was like you, Jeff. I was pretty apprehensive. Like, what the hell? How are they going to pull this out? But Eric Forrest ended up being the perfect replacement. I mean, two birds with one stone for sure. And his voice had enough snakeism in it to know that he could pull off all the old material no problem, and his bass playing is not Blackie level, but it's solid. I mean, he was in there.
That's good.
Yeah, he sounds really good. He's got a good bass tone, and Matt mentioned early on that Devon thought these were groove metal, and I've listened to this in Phobos a lot here the last couple of weeks, and I kind of said, you know what, I don't think Devon listened to it the whole way through or didn't give it he just heard a few things like, it's not what I want. I get it. I've been there before. I've done that. It sucks. But I mean, coming back to it, both of these albums are fucking awesome Voivod records. They really are.
They are.
Because it's really kind of a shame. It came out in 95. I mean, what's going on in 95? You got Pantera, you got White Zombie. Soundgarden. You got, the metal stuff was getting pretty commercial, and then the grunge stuff.
Grunge. Yep,
the grunge shit burned hot, but it burned out quick. So, I mean, but what it did do is kill glam, and it kind of just left bands like Voivod to kind of go back to the clubs, run around, do their thing, write some albums. But this album is great, man. Insect, Nanoman's a great song.
Oh, Nanoman's so good. That chorus.
Such a good song. Oh, it's such a catchy
chorus. Is so catchy.
And the way he sings it, it's very Snake reminiscent. Very Snake reminiscent. And I also have this Nanoman single.
Oh, nice.
It's got two previously unreleased songs, Erosion and Vortex. I don't know if they're on that thing that I sent you or not, on that rehearsal I sent you, Matt. But
let me take a look. Erosion and Vortex.
Yeah. I've just noticed I haven't listened to. I don't even remember what those songs sound like. I haven't listened to this in fucking years. But I mean, for the Voivod,
those songs are not on the rehearsal you sent me.
Okay,
so they're bonus tracks. There you go. That's cool.
If anything, with this era of Voivod, the three albums that came out previous to these were very proggy. We've already established that, but this is Voivod going back to more bite. There's a lot of bite and aggression in these songs. It's heavier. There's less of that dreamy sequence in the background feel to the riffs. The songs are very aggressive, to the point. And if you want to say groove metal, I would say there's sometimes the riffs are a bit more simplistic and just really heavy. But then, when Piggy kicks into those triads and all the stuff that he does, it sounds like nothing but Voivod. And I really like this album, but the one after it is way better. Wow, mind-blowingly great.
I got a lot to say about that one for sure.
Go for it.
I'm gonna jump over Nikki's comment. We'll go back to it in a second. Jurgen has a really good point. They were ahead of their time again, and I agree with that. With these two albums, they were ahead of their time. They took, in my opinion, they took the perfect symbiosis of Killing Technology, Dimension Hatros, and Nothing Face, and manifested it into these two albums and a third one, which you guys are going to talk about. I agree with you, Jurgen. And I will tell you that when I heard that Snake was leaving, Voivod, I was like, no way, man. There's just no way. I'm just not going to get into this band. I did not give them a fair hearing until very recently, and man, was I wrong. Man, was I wrong. To go back to Nikki's comment here, honest question for the panel. I'm asking truthfully, how do you all get past the vocals, or what is it you all like about the vocals? Well, you're asking about two different vocalists now. The first guy, Snake, it took me a little bit of time to get past them, but I didn't really get past them. I started to love them. I started to really fucking dig them. And I'll tell you, I'm not a punk guy very much, and the early stuff is kind of punky and thrashy, and they're not very good. His vocals on the first two albums are probably the weakest parts of the album for the most part for me. But man, by the time Killing Technology came out, something changed, and I can't really explain it. Although, except in my experience, I went backward from Nothing Face. As I said in the first part, had I come in at War and Pain or Roar, I don't know that I would have stuck with this band. So I was kind of I feel fortunate that I came in at Nothing Face and was able to go back to Dimension Hatros and go, wow, this fucking album's amazing. And then Killing Technology and go, man, this album's really amazing. And then get to War and Pain and go, they're okay. They're okay. I don't love those two albums. They're not in my top pantheon of Voivod albums, but they're solid, and I appreciate them more. I've appreciated them more over time. You know what I mean? So anyone else want to touch on that with regards to?
For me, Snake, he was a little rough in the beginning, but I really like his aggressive yelling style, and that gives him alone a very unique style of singing. But there's a punk aesthetic to it too, and I like punk. I mean, do I have tons and tons and tons of punk? No, but I got a lot of the classics. I got a lot of the the bigger bands and stuff. So I like that, and it makes their music even. It sets them further apart from everybody else that's doing the same, angry growling and stuff, or whatever. But he's a very unique singer, and as he went on, he's gotten better. His I don't know if he's taken lessons or what, but his higher up register of singing is actually pretty good, and especially on a couple albums out from here. I think he does a really good job singing. He's always a little bit too loud in the mix, maybe. But
some of the albums,
some of the albums he's a little loud in the mix, but I don't know, man. No one sounds like Snake, and I like how he pulls from different areas, and it gives Voivod that teeter totter. Their music's in metal, their music's in prog, their music's in punk. It's such an awesome combination of all these different styles that interjected with a good dose of sci-fi that makes it so unique. So
real quick here, Donald brings up the Angel Rat demos, and I brought that up in the last stream, and the Angel Rat demos are really cool with the exception of that song Nomad. Really fucking bad song by them. Really not
I don't know
a
if
good
I've heard that.
all.
I don't know if I've heard those demos.
It is not a good song, man. It's on YouTube. And Alan agrees with you, Nikki, so you're not alone. And there's a lot of metalheads out there that don't like Snake's vocals, and that's why they're not into this band. Now, I have to go black on my screen. It is not the most professional way to do this, but I did all my notes on the album on notes on my phone, and when I was transposing them earlier today, I fucking spilled coffee all over everything and ruined all my notes. So I'm going to roll through them quickly. Would one of you guys like to show your shining face, or should I just leave my screen blank? I think we'll just do my screen blank. But I have some things to say. All right, so real quick on this. First of all, with regards to Eric Forrest, no one's really mentioned it, but I did say something to Marty when I first started re-listening to these albums last week, and we were comparing notes, and you as well, Matt. I was saying, damn, I really missed the fucking boat on these. Remember I said that to you. I'm like, these are really fucking good albums.
They are.
But nobody's made the really big-time comparison of this guy's voice to someone else that was established at the time. And he sounds a lot like Corey Clark from Warrior Soul. If you don't think he doesn't, go listen to Warrior Soul. And ironically, I listened to a long-form interview with Eric Forrest today that was done in 2020, during the pandemic. He lives in France now, and he's got E-Force and some other projects. I think something called Demonica or Demon, something like that. Anyways, he talks about how much he loves Corey Clark and what a huge influence he is for him. And man, if you listen to those early Warrior Soul albums, Eric Forrest sounds a lot like Corey Clark. And that's not a bad thing, because those first 4 Warrior Soul albums are killer. All right. I recall when Snake left, I probably heard it in Kerrang. It was just, I was not interested. But I got to say, this album is really solid. There's some vicious rips by Piggy throughout the entire album. Some of his heaviest stuff to date, to my ears.
Yeah.
Although I do hear some repetitious riffs that he recycles every few songs in the running order. The songs aren't as weird vocally as they had been with Snake, and they have a bit more straight ahead, metal tinged with a mechanical sound and vibe. That's maybe where we get into the groove metal thing. Is it's just a little bit more straight ahead metal to my ears. It's still Voivodian, it's still weird, but it's a little less complex and out there and sci-fi sounding. The first 3 tracks are really killer. The chorus for Nanoman, just wow, what a chorus, man. My God. Super cool, super catchy. Those chords that Piggy plays underneath Eric's voice are awesome.
Yeah.
Piggy's soloing on this is a little less strange than it had been too. He's going a little bit more
bluesy,
traditional and straightforward with his soloing on here. Bluesy, yeah. But there's a lot of gnarly, angular, dissonant riffs, and the bass is heavily forward in the mix on this album, which I love. Which, they probably wanted to replicate Piggy's, or not Piggy, Blackie's, all these Y names are getting me here. Blackie's, always prominent place in the mix. And the guitar tone on this album, Marty, what do you think, man? The guitar tone on this album, really fucking vicious and cool.
Bigger sound.
Big, huge.
Yeah.
Reality has the weirdness that ties in with a nasty hammering, chugging riff. Punky propulsive drums and subdued guitar weirdness in the background. Negatron sounds a bit too much like the first track for me, but it's good and has that fuzzed out feedback that lends a real spookiness to the song that's really cool as E-Force spits out the verse really angrily. I really fucking love Planet Hell. Planet Hell is probably the thrashiest song in there. Has some killer angry riffage and full rage mode from E-Force, with that distorted vocal effect. And what else do we have? Production is really top shelf on this album, guys. I think it is. I think it sounds amazing. To my ears, it did. My one criticism, though, is there is a bit of sameness to some of the songs when you get towards the middle of the album. But it's not like every song sounds the same. There's just, I heard some riffs that were kind of samey to me. Standouts again for me are the first 3, Planet Hell, Bio TV's pretty cool, and Cosmic Conspiracy, which is the real prog metal oddball track on there, with tons of time signature changes and movements that reminds me of like a Dimension Hatros song. For me, this is like a 7 out of 10 album. I don't know if you guys want to rate them that way. I kind of did this
I'd
time
go
around.
8. I'd go 8.
Would you?
Yeah.
Drift is actually a pretty cool dark atmospheric track with lots of chugging and arpeggios that are weird and dark chords. And the last song is probably the only one that's like a true industrial song on the album, that DNA with that Thirlwell guy from Fetus on it.
Oh yeah, James Thirlwell.
That one sounds like kind of a nightmare skinny puppy track that's gone wrong. And again, like I said, the artwork is just badass on this, man. I love that artwork. And just as an aside, I went looking online for a Negatron Voivod shirt just to see if there was anything out there. There is something out there. It's a vintage tour shirt from the 95 tour.
$5,000.
Well, that's a little high, but
people are
$349 for a vintage shirt. Nah, don't think so. Don't think we're gonna do that. So, anyway, that's kind of my thoughts on that one. We want to head on to the next one there, Matt.
Yeah, sure. And real quick before I do get into Phobos, I wanted to answer Nikki's question too.
Oh yeah, do that
about the vocals. I mean, to me, I've never had a problem with his vocals, and I don't know, man, like in the world of heavy metal, isn't getting used to weird vocals just kind of a thing
Part of the deal.
It's part of the deal.
Good point.
Like if you can get into King Diamond or anyone else that doesn't sing like a typical normal singer, I don't see why you couldn't do that with Snake's vocals if you just really like the music enough to get used to those vocals. I mean,
or Mark Shelton. He's another one.
There's so many. There's so many you can mention. So, I mean, to me, I think prejudices against the vocal style need to be put aside. And if you can do that, you could probably really come to appreciate Voivod a lot more. So just
the music is so rich.
You and Alan both just put the effort in, and you can do it.
The music is so rich. I mean, the vocals, I mean, they're easy to look past if you're wanting to really embrace that amazing music that's put down underneath it, you know.
And you can say that for so many different bands. Like to me, to have that be the sticking point for not liking Voivod, it's the vocals. I don't give that credence. I think you should give it another chance.
Yeah,
broaden your horizons, man.
But far be it for me to tell anybody what to listen to and like, because there's a lot of shit that I like that I'm sure a lot of people don't like. I mean, Geddy Lee's vocals.
Absolutely. I'm just saying, give it a chance. I'm not giving Nikki or anybody else shit over it. I'm just saying, if that's the reason why you can't get into the band, give it another chance and try. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, dude, if you find it impenetrable, then you're probably not going to go there. And but again, now you're saying you love Frank Zappa and King Diamond, the Frank Zappa weirdness. Exactly. Yeah. King Diamond, look, it took me 18 years to appreciate King Diamond. Although I loved Merciful Fate's music and I loved King Diamond's music, man, I struggled with his voice. I laughed at it all the time when it would come on. I'd be like, come on, man, seriously? I finally kind of got it. Is he my favorite vocalist? No, not even by a stretch. But man, the music on some of those albums, like Abigail and Conspiracy, that's fucking good music, man. That is some real good shit. That's good metal. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know, Nikki, what to tell you. It's one of those things where you'll either get it or maybe you'll just choose not to get it, It's Peter Tackren, Jurgen. I don't know Tackren well enough to know. I do that. He's got that rasp to his voice for Forrest, so you're probably right. But I think he sounds a lot like Corey Clark and Warrior Soul, especially around Space Age Playboys, man. Big time there, which was a glam album for them, actually.
I saw them 2 years ago. They played here in Traverse City, probably 3 miles from my house. And I talked to him a bit before the show. He seemed like a nice enough guy, but live, I did not think of Eric Forrest when he was singing. That didn't even cross my mind.
Well, go listen. Have you ever listened to the first 4 albums, like
No.
Last Decade, Dead Century?
No, I saw a couple videos on MTV and stuff. I might have heard the first one.
Check out Last Decade, Dead Century, dude. He sounds I think he sounds a lot like himself.
Huh. Cool.
Man. Yeah, we're going to get there, Robert. We're getting there. You're a little jumping ahead like usual. All right, so we're going to Phobos next, and I'll throw some knowledge on you with this one here. And Phobos came out on August 12th, 1997 on Hypnotic Records and it was recorded at Signal to Noise Studios in Toronto and produced by Rob Sanzo and Voivod. So what do you have to say about that one, Matt?
All right. Well, what Negatron did great, Phobos just raised the bar so much. I mean, this is a 10 out of 10 record for me.
Yep,
I agree.
This is a top 5 easily Voivod record for me.
I agree.
Probably even a top 3. I mean, I've revisited Phobos quite a bit. 3 things to note about this. This is the only album since the original albums that feature the Voivod again on the cover. This is an unmasked Voivod, basically. And they never really explored that theme on this record at all. It's just the piece of artwork that Away chose for the record. And he's been on record saying that, yeah, this is the Voivod, the character of the Voivod coming back. But as far as what the theme or the story is, I don't think there really was one for this record. It's just that is simply the artwork. So there's that. The other thing I wanted to note is my version of this wasn't released through Hypnotic Records. Mine came out through Slip Disc Records, which was a subsidiary of Mercury Records. So again, this is a major label release. Again, this is kind of the start. This is also kind of the start of the musical chairs as far as record labels go that put out Voivod records. And this is pretty much the last major label release until they signed to Century Media Records.
Century Media, yep.
Century Media, if those of you out there don't know, Century Media has been owned by Sony Music for quite a few years now. So there you have it. But anyway, the music on this thing, holy Lord, I don't even really know where to start. I mean, for me, this is a perfect record because it's got everything that you love about Voivod and then some. You know, you've got some cool, dark industrial elements that have creeped into the sound. You know, just really weird interludes in between stuff going on.
Piggy messing around. Yeah. Very
Piggy
cool.
just doing weird, wild stuff. And yeah, I mean, this album's great. I love every song start to finish. Yeah. I can't pick a favorite song off of this one because they're all great. If I had to choose one, I mean, Rise, Mercury, Phobos, Bacteria, Neutrino, Forlorn. I mean, there's so many. There's so many. They're all just so good. And
does yours have the bonus tracks, the European bonus
tracks? It does.
Tracks?
My copy has M Body, which is a song featuring Jason Newsted playing bass on it. And
he wrote that, actually, yeah.
Yep, he wrote it. And then there's also 21st Century Schizoid Man, a cover of a King Crimson song. So,
which Jason is singing. Actually, Jason sings that as
Jason is doing the vocals on that one. So this was kind of the start of their connection with Jason Newsted, and we'll get into that a little bit later, I'm sure. But those are just the bonus tracks on this record. Even without those two songs on here, this is just a fantastic record, just start to finish. Terrible logo that is on this one. That's the only thing.
I love the artwork on that one too. The artwork on that one's killer.
Yeah, it's cool artwork.
I love the artwork. I love the Phobos here. This is just classic Away text, but that Voivod logo is terrible garbage. But yeah, that is what I have to say about Phobos. I really can't find anything negative to say about this album, and I would slap anyone in the face who does. So there you go.
So Nikki says you raise a lot of good points there, Matt. You made him think about it, and that's a good thing. And Professor Alan Steele says, that's not all that bothers me. So
well, Alan needs to go spend more time with his family. What is he even doing here, hanging out with us? Isn't it family weekend time for you, Alan? Come on now.
Ooh. All right.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Angular chords. No, that works. Angular chords, dissonant chords, always tough sell. Okay, well, there you go. Let's see what else we got here. Yes, Phobos, heavier than dinosaur shit. Yes, it is. And let's see. We'll get back to those in a minute here.
Alan, if you haven't gotten into anything post-Hetros, I mean, I have to ask if you've listened to these Eric Forrest records or their last two.
Most two. Yeah,
their last two albums, which we'll get to later. I think if you like that really early Voivod stuff, there might be something in these Eric Forrest albums and the last two in their discography that you might actually like. So I'm just gonna throw that out there. Don't know where you're at in your listening with stuff, but
I have a story about
it's on the vine. It's on the vine. Pick it and eat it, sir.
I have a story about that, Jurgen. When we get to Post Society, about 60 people. Someone remind me. When we get to Post Society. Devon, what say you?
He basically covered it, but there's one thing on this record that kind of bugs me. It's a small thing, though. There's 3 instrumentals.
They're not instrumentals, they're interludes.
Or whatever. I kind of hate interludes. They're fucking annoying, but... Besides that, I agree. This is definitely a solid record. It's maybe my favorite of the stuff with Eric, but they're kind of even out. Because honestly, I think Negatron. Well, what do I say? I think Negatron has higher high points, but it also has lower low points. If that makes any sense. Like the better moments, I think are better on Negatron, but Phobos also has like less shitty, crappy moments. So there's that. But yeah, favorite song.
So could you take both albums and like make a greatest hits compilation of the two and sit there and say that the Eric Forrest era has merit if you did that?
I think you're going to have to define the word merit for him, Matt.
Good, worth listening to, worthy of being in the Voivod discography, something you would listen to with regularity. Need I go on?
I mean, you don't need to do that because both records, I think, are solid all the way through besides the interlude tracks, but there's no point making the greatest hits because I enjoyed both thoroughly. Compared to the records we're going to talk to next, these are definitely a lot better than the next few we're going to discuss.
Fair enough.
So, yeah.
I think we ought to mention one thing here. The interludes and a lot of the electronic stuff was not done by Piggy. It was done by the guy from Men Without Hats. A dude,
really?
I gotta look.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, I gotta look. The guy, the safety dance. Safety dance. Yeah.
Well, I'm very familiar with safety dance.
His name's in there. Matt, do you have the thing? Something Marcuso or something like that? And there was another guy, Jimmy Caviezel or
James Caviezel and Ivan Dawkins something.
Ivan Durochuk. He's the guy from.
I'll be damned. There they are. They're listed right there.
Yep. And they did all the weird electronic funkiness. And Devon.
What?
You've been embarking on this massive. Can you stop punching your keyboard on your computer because it comes right into the thing and all we hear is ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. You mind not doing that or doing it more gently? Okay. If you don't like interludes and instrumental stuff, man, you shouldn't get into prog then, dude, because there's a lot of that stuff in prog. And
I
like
instrumentals, just not ones that are like a minute long. That seems kind of pointless. Like I like the long ones, obviously, but
again, that's why they're not really. They're more of an interlude. They're kind of a way to set an atmospheric tone for a psalm that's come up or something like that. So, all right. So, Marty, I'm going to come to you, and I know you probably got a lot to say on this one.
I've got a different. I have the slip disc promo version of this.
Oh, look at that! Wow.
That was sent from the label, so it's a little bit different. Don't have any of the liner shit. It's just that much to it. But this for me, I would agree with Matt. It's a 10 out of 10. The Tower, Forlorn, probably two of my favorites. Phobos. God, it's just the last album, even heavier and even more going back into their. There's a lot of nods to Dimension Hatros in this, I think. Musically, yeah, there's still that Piggy's tone's a lot heavier. The riffs are a bit heavier, but still he goes into that the noisier chords a lot more. It just feels like a late 80s Voivod record to me, and Eric just rules on it. I mean, this band is so good at this point. A three-piece does them well. I wish I saw them. I've only seen them once, but I wish I could have seen them during this time. But and I gotta say, 21st Century Schizoid, man, holy shit. You want to talk about an ass ripping cover? That thing is so good. That's Jason Newsted on bass on there, and they tear it up. I mean, that whole musical break in the center before they come back into the verse again, it's fantastic.
I actually like it better than their Pink Floyd covers that they've done. I think it's superior in every way.
They're kind of like Metallica in the way that they always approach their covers in a unique fashion and do a really good job with it. But again, for people that just discredit the Eric Forrest era, this shit is so good. And if you're a Voivod fan, if you know, you know. But he's really good, and it took a bass or a van accident to kind of fuck the guy up pretty bad. Back surgery, and he walks with a cane. I think to this day he still walks with a cane. But I mean, Matt, y'all said it so eloquently, and Jeff, I'm sure, has broken it down track by track. I've listened to this probably 4 times in 2 weeks. I love this. It's been a while, so putting it on again, I'm like, holy shit! Why did I have this on the shelf for so long? It's so good. It crushes Angel Rat for me. I mean, they're different albums, but it's just more like late 80s Voivod to me. They get the full production, but they brought back a bit more of the sci-fi bite and weirdness in the compositions and stuff. Love this album. It's a great 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I got a little bit to say on this one. I'll try to make it quick.
Oh, I'm glad
because I don't have a lot to say in the next 3. I'm going to be honest with you. So, yeah, I did not listen to that one. You're going to give us your take on that, Matt, because I don't know if anyone else listened to that.
I don't even own it. I didn't like it.
What is that? What is that? You just said? Live?
Yeah, when we're done talking about Phobos and before we get into the Jasonic era, I have a couple of things that I want to say about these records.
Okay,
so
cool.
Just popping them up just to give you a little taster.
That's cool. That's cool. I generally don't touch on live stuff simply because I'm not a live guy, but we'll go there. That's cool. That's fine. Let me get into mine.
Just a quick minute on it.
That's fine. Let me get into this quick here. So, to me, this album has very much a Dimension Hatros vibe, except it is balls fucking heavy. There is no question. To me, this is Voivod's heaviest fucking album. I mean, when I'm not talking about thrash, I'm not talking about thrashy, or this album is fucking heavier than Plutonium, man. The riffs on it are intense. The tracks are long, and yet they never seem to outstay their welcome for some reason. And, sometimes that can, I think this album clocks in at about 66 minutes with the 2 bonus tracks on the end. And I have a little differing opinion than you guys on the 21st Century Schizoid Man at the end, but not too bad. But anyway, so again, the electronic bits, thanks to Ivan Durochuk from Men Without Hats and James Cavaluso, really add a lot of spooky fucking atmosphere to this album, I think. Rise continues with that big chuggy intro heaviness riff that we heard on Negatron, the opening track on Negatron, only to me much darker. Mercury has the weird dissonant intro riffs that sound like it's going to be a surfabilly tune for a moment. It gets into that chromatic thing, and it sounds like, wait a minute, is this going to be a surf tune? And then it mutates into this nasty bunch of menacing fucking riffs that sound like they came off Nothing Face, only they're just ramped up to 11. Phobos, this song just kills. It rules. It's so bizarre, so fucking gnarly and out there with the delays and the guitar trippiness on it. I fucking love the song Phobos. My only slight little detraction about this album can really be heard a little bit on Phobos, and that is the drums, which is doing some amazing drum work on this album.
Always.
But the drums do have a little bit of a flat weirdness on the snare. If you listen to it, it sounds a little like they tuned it flat. That's the only thing I would say about the album that kind of stood out to me from a production standpoint, that the snare could have been a better sound. Let's see.
That's so nitpicky. That is so nitpicky.
Hey, man, that's what I do on my deep dives, bro. It's how I roll. The electronics really add to Phobos as well. The distorted vocals that E-Force does, they sound so fucking menacing and scary, man. Bacteria is long. That's the only song I would argue is a little bit too long, but it's super atmospheric. It's proggy. It's weird. It's experimental. It's a wank fest for the album. There's a lot of riffage and soloing going on in there. Lots of crazy peaks and valleys and tempos and dynamics. Man, I love that fucking song. And again, it's this almost perfect marriage of Dimension Hatros and Nothing Face oddness, but the bizarro riffs and transitions from Negatron and the time changes too. Tower's a bit more straightforward of a metal track until it hits the moody phaser affected ambient synth section, which is super cool. It's unusual for them to do something like that. That was kind of a unique sort of sound for them. Quantum, what a skull pounder, man. That motherfucker just crushes your head. E4 sounds a lot like Snake on that song to me. What else do we got here? Neutrino. Truly bizarre and trippy guitar intro. Crushingly heavy guitars on this song. The song is, what did I say there? The song is heavier than plutonium. I love this song. And then what do I have here? Oh, what's the song? Matt, can you tell me what the name of the song is after Neutrino?
Forlorn.
Yeah. Forlorn. Okay. What the hell do I have Dokken written here for? Something changed on me from spell check. It says Dokken starts off almost exactly like the Alice in Chains song, I Don't Know Anything. Do you know the song I'm talking about? Down, down, down. Anyways, I don't know what my note is there, but anyways, mutates into a nasty, ugly, snarling monster. Catalepsy's a bit industrial and predictable. It had to be Forlorn. Has to be Forlorn. Why did that change to Dokken? Anyways, whatever. Yeah, Forlorn is fucking killer. Catalepsy is a bit industrial and predictable for me, but it's still a killer way to close the album. The Crimson cover with Newsted is really good. It's solid, but I'm not a real fan of Jason Newsted's voice. He's just kind of mad to me. And the only thing I have to say about that is if you know the original song, like I know the original song, because I love Crimson, nobody gets it as menacingly scary as Crimson does. Crimson's version of that song is the standard. And I would have liked to have heard them, do something a little different with that. Anyways, while Negatron up the heaviness, Annie, and return to the thrashy weirdo metal of killing technology and dimension Hatros, and to a lesser extent, Nothing Face, Phobos is downright heavy as fuck, and to me, it's their heaviest album in the catalog, and it adds a major feeling of fear, ominous, and intense atmosphere to the recipe. It's truly a killer album to me. People say this is their industrial album. I'm not sure where people hear that, unless it's just those atmospheric interludes that makes them say that.
It's the interludes.
Because it's not an industrial album at all.
Not at all.
Wait a minute. What song does Jason Newsted sing? Catalepsy?
No, he sings
21st Century.
21st Century.
Man.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. See, I don't have the liner notes because of the promo copy, so I have no idea.
And I just don't think his voice is that great. I've never really liked him.
I thought he did all right, man. I thought it was E-Force. I thought it was E-Force.
I'm just being nitpicky again, man. Only major complaint about this album is the drum sound. It's a little flat and kind of muddy, but man, this is a 10 out of 10 album, man. It is fucking amazing. Anybody want to say anything more about that album before I jump into the little bit of history here I've got?
Other than it's a Jason joining at the end of it. It's a banger, and Jason joining at the end of it's a sign of things to come, for sure.
If only what to come was as good as this record.
Well, some of it is. Some of it is.
Some of it is.
Yep. Well, that's not for a while, but we'll get to that.
All right. So on August 4th, 1988, on the way to Wacken, the band was playing a headline show there. They were in a van that the tire blew on and that rolled the vehicle. Eric was thrown from the van and seriously injured. He was in a coma for a week. He was flown back to Canada for several surgeries. He had a broken back in several places. He recovered over 4 to 5 months that he was in the hospital in a rehab center. And he had to learn to walk again. I didn't know he was walking with a cane. That part I did not know. Yeah, he was.
Fucked up.
Well, he was so fucked up that, in fact, he and his parents actually sued Voivod over the accident. Afterward, once Eric had healed, I could not find out whether that was settled. I'm assuming that was a settled lawsuit. I couldn't find any information, and the interview that Eric did, he did not speak about it. He talked about the accident, but he did not go into the lawsuit.
That's kind of. So I'm sorry, but that's kind of lame. A tire blows. I mean, it's not the band's fault. I don't know.
I don't know if it
a
was
lot of it
insurance.
was fueled by anger and his parents. I mean, it was probably his parents that were doing it more than he was, and he was probably really bitter about it. How could you not, with an accident that bad, be just a little bit bitter?
What happened to
about
Sammy
it?
in Goat Horse, Soylent Green? Sammy was all fucked up from a bus accident too.
Yeah,
he's out there still kicking ass, and he was fucked up.
Does he walk with a cane though? Does he walk with a cane though?
He might have early on, but not anymore. No.
I got a couple more notes, and then you two guys are going to talk about that little treat that you had there. So after Eric sort of convalesced and got better, and again, I don't know what the end result of that lawsuit was. They got together with Steve Albini in Chicago to record a third album with Eric. It was never released due to financial and internal issues with the band. So there are demos out there, but the album was never legitimately actually recorded. They are demo recordings, from what I understand.
It's a rehearsal.
It's a rehearsal.
Yeah. The album was to be the final chapter of the Voivod, where he slips into a coma, and E-Force claims that the album is more in line with Angel Rat and the Outer Limits versus Negatron and Phobos. In 2009, E-Force sang Tribal Conditions with Snake at Hellfest, and Away claims there might be an E-Force box set coming in the near future, but dealing with licensing issues has been holding it up for a few years. Also, E-Force did a cover of one of the unreleased Voivod album's songs called Victory as a tribute to Piggy after he died, that I believe he put on one of his E-Force albums. I've not checked out the E-Force stuff, so I don't know what that's all about. But Marty and Matt, why don't you two in conjunction talk about this demo rehearsal that you guys have?
It's raw. It's rough. It's a rehearsal, and my tape has got some damage in the beginning, so it's like a wow, wow, wow starting off. But it's not as heavy and suffocating as Negatron and Phobos. I haven't spun it since I taped it. How long ago did I tape that for you? That's the first
over a year ago. Yeah, it's been a while.
I don't remember much of it other than it's cool to have because it's a bunch of tracks that aren't around, and you can hear everything going on, but I prefer Phobos and Negatron, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean the rehearsal is it feels more like a jam session than it does like them really writing actual songs to me. Like it sounds like it's a lot of ideas coming together and just very loose songs. Some of it sounds pretty cool, but I can kind of hear that, yeah, maybe they were, trying to not be as aggro as they were on Phobos and Negatron. And I'm sure, that accident that they were in had a lot to do with that. Maybe they were just trying to slow down a little bit, getting older, that kind of a thing. I don't know. But it's good. It just it got shelved. They never finished it. I don't know if it was because the relationship between Eric Forrest and Voivod was on the outs again. It just didn't come together.
The way I understand it was that there was a lot of financial issues. The accident left them in some financial limbo. They weren't able to tour. They weren't,
and they didn't have a record. They didn't have a record contract either.
Deal. Right.
Yeah, they didn't have a record deal at that time.
I think they were putting together ideas and thumbnail sketches with that rehearsal of tracks. And Eric basically said that it was a Way's concept and Piggy's concept to kind of go back to an Angel Ratty, the Outer Limits vibe. So if that's what you guys are hearing, that makes sense.
Hear that a little bit, but it doesn't sound like Angel Rat or Outer Limits to my ears. Yeah, I mean it's definitely pre-Negatron sounding, but I don't think it sounds exactly like that. But again, it's very rough. It's just a rehearsal, so it's not major. So, but
some of us would like to hear that. Just saying.
Well, you'll have to talk to the other old man because I do not have the ability to copy tape to tape with my system.
Yeah, if I have a tape, I'll get it for you, man.
I'll get one out to you at some point. Jurgen, I'm assuming you're talking about Phobos with Great Cross Between Dimension and Negatron. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. And yeah,
I think that's what we were talking about when that comment popped up. Yeah.
And yeah, that would be great if they would press those. Again, I don't know, for those people that are watching, there's 35 people. Thanks for all being here. It's worth noting that I forget who's pressing them. Is it Music on Vinyl? But Angel Rat and Nothing Face are coming
Real
out
Gone.
in a few weeks. Is it Real Gone? That's
Real
right.
Gone
Right.
music. And I guarantee you the reason why Negatron and Phobos have not gotten the vinyl treatment yet is the licensing has to be a nightmare, because Negatron was released by a major record label, but through an imprint that no longer exists. So whoever owns the license who ran that imprint probably has the rights to that record, and God knows.
And they probably want an ass load of money too. And
probably, because most people do when it comes to licensing. And then same thing with Phobos. Phobos is owned by Mercury Records and Slip Disc Records. Slip Disc Records no longer exists. So when you have labels that disappear, it can get really murky with trying to get licensing rights. It's very difficult sometimes. So,
but I agree, it would be great to see those come out on vinyl. It would be killer. Yep. I know 2 or 3 of us that would be jumping all over that for sure.
Oh, I'd buy them in a heartbeat. Yeah. And I hope that the repress is coming out for Angel Rat, and what's the other one that's coming out on
Nothing Face.
Okay, I've already got Nothing Face on vinyl, but I hope there will be copies of Angel Rat out there and they don't get all scooped up by scalpers.
I hope not too, but there's only the way I understand, there's only 4,000 or 4,500. I forget which number.
It's not a lot.
4,500. So and unfortunately, Real Gone's over in Europe, right?
I don't know.
European?
I don't know anything about them.
I think they are, and that it seems to me like, Matt, we were talking about the Crimson Glory represses that came out on Music on Vinyl. They're all overseas, and the bad thing about that is, okay, you find one for $30, $35, well worth grabbing those 2 for that, but then the fucking shipping is $35. So you're spending $70 for a vinyl album, and it's like, man, do I really want that? Do I want it? I do, but I don't want it. Speaking of that, your boy helped you out here. Your boy helped you out.
You did.
Spent your money.
You helped me get that long wanted Crimson Glory album for a fair price, coming from like the Netherlands or something. But it was cheap as fuck.
Which one?
Transcendence.
That's a great album. Yeah.
I had the first one, but I could never find the second one for a fair price. And then he found it in like 2 minutes, and I was like, man, damn it.
Well, I posted it on my Instagram because I threw it in my car the other day and hadn't listened to it in a couple of years. Holy fuck, that album is good.
Great.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great. But we are not here to talk about Crimson Glory. That's for one of your smaller deep dive series. We're here to continue on the Voivod path.
You are correct. Jurgen says,
you want to let me talk about these real quick before we go to the J-Sonic era?
Roll.
All right. So in 1998, this was an album that Voivod was touring for when that Vakken accident happened. And this is just a compilation called Chronic. It is a really weird release. It's barely a Voivod release, but it is something that they were working on and they put out there. It is basically 3 remixes, 4 unreleased tracks, and then 4 live tracks. And it does not flow as a good album at all. This is probably the weakest release in their entire discography. It does not look good. The remixes are done by either the band Foetus, however you pronounce that. They do one of the remixes, and then there's
James
DJs.
Thurwell.
Yeah, there's DJs that do the other ones. The unreleased songs aren't bad, but they're not, fantastic either. And then the live tracks are decent. You can see they do Cosmic Conspiracy, Astronomy, Nuclear War, Project X, good stuff. But by and large, this is a very forgettable release. I wouldn't put the effort into getting this if you didn't have it already. It's just kind of there. Now, this was released through Hypnotic Records, so they are technically not on a major label anymore. I think this is their first official return to the underground circuit in a way. So that is Chronic. Did you have anything to say on that one, Marty?
I don't own it. No.
You don't have that one?
Okay. Yeah, I don't think any. I think you're the only one that has one, man.
Yeah, so it's all right.
You want to talk about
then,
the live E-Force?
Yeah, and then Voivod Lives. Now, this is a live album that came out in 2000.
Yep.
It was released by Century Media in Europe and Metal Blade Records in the States. And it is pretty much the last official thing you can get for the Eric Forrest era of Voivod. Now, it came out after Phobos, but the bulk of the songs on here are from Negatron, so that's kind of weird. And they play some of the classic hits as well. But
Nuclear War, that's kind of cool. It's on there. Nuclear War.
Matt, where was that recorded at? Was that in
this
Netherlands?
I can't remember. It's from several different
it's not one show.
Okay. They played Dynamo Open Air.
98.
There's a gig from CBGB's in New York, and then also just songs they did for the Swedish Broadcasting Corporation. So there you go.
Okay, according to Eric, the Dynamo and what was the other one? CBGB's.
CBGB. Yeah.
There's actually video footage of both those shows, and there is. Away's been trying to get the official rights to release that stuff, but it's just been a pain in the ass. Like I said, Eric said they're trying to do. He said about a year before this interview was done, so 19. Eric said that they were trying to do a box set of his stuff, which would include unreleased stuff and probably that unreleased album of whether it's rehearsals or demos. That's I'm a little bit confused about, because the way that I understood it was that they had worked with Steve Albini a little bit, but if it was a rehearsal, then Steve Albini was not there, not at a rehearsal. No. So it's live, is what you guys are saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I'll have to
So
re-listen
those
to
are
that interview.
These are definitely decent. I mean, Lives is worth owning, I think, because you do hear Eric Forrest singing some of those older Snake songs, and that's really the only reason why I decided to add this to my collection, just because it is a little snapshot of time that is very important to the discography of Voivod. This is not a pointless live album release like a lot of bands have. This one actually has some merit because it is Eric Forrest singing. I mean, can you imagine him singing Ravenous Medicine? That alone is worth owning this. So,
which is his favorite Voivod song, he said in this interview. That
and it's mine too. So that's all I have to say on those.
Nebulous Prowler says there's 6,000 of each. Well, if that's the case, that's good, because that means you may have a much better chance of grabbing that. At 4,000, 4,500, it's probably going to get a little dicey, but I got a bad feeling you're going to have to get them from overseas, which sucks. But Jurgen says that there is a double vinyl of Negatron and Phobos, and right now I would not argue with Jurgen about anything Voivod.
He said, but they're not complete track listings.
Okay, that's weird. I wonder if they're bootlegs then, Jurgen, are they? Pints of Guinness make you strong. Speaking of Guinness, I have to go grab a Guinness here in a minute, but let's move on, because as I said, I went over that little bit of history, and the next one up here is going to be, Matt.
All right, so we are jumping
Voivod.
into the infamous Jason Newsted era of the band.
Right.
2003 saw the release of the self-titled Voivod, and this album was kind of a big deal in three aspects. Number one, Voivod had kind of broken up. They were kind of done after everything that happened with Eric Forrest, and they just kind of moved on and did other stuff for a little while. And Jason Newsted was a huge fan of this band, and he pretty much floated the bill for getting these guys back together. He was able to convince Snake to come back into the fold, and Jason Newsted played bass on it. He released this through his own record label, Chop House Records. Another reason why this is kind of a hard one to come across in the secondary market, because I don't think it really got repressed at all. Maybe it got one repress, I don't know, but I don't think it's ever been put out on vinyl. And, this was just released by Jason Newsted, basically. Jason Newsted is on record having said that he spent millions of dollars on getting Voivod back together and putting him out there just because he had all that Metallica money.
The
just
sweet
burning a
Black
hole in his
Album
pocket.
money. He's still making
Sweet Black Album money.
Yeah, the Sweet Black Album money. And he decided to put it to some good use, and he got one of his favorite bands back together. He joined the band, and he really did help give these guys a push and really put them out there. But is this album good? Is it great?
Ooh.
In my opinion, this is okay. It's not.
Yeah.
There's really nothing that stands out on this record, and I can say that about the other two that are within this whole period of Jason Newsted being in the band, and it's really too bad because this is really where Voivod got a huge push in the mainstream. Like, they were back on everyone's brain just because Jason Newsted was there, but unfortunately the music doesn't hold up. It doesn't really work with, you know, the legacy of Voivod. They're not terrible. None of them are terrible.
No, not at all. No.
They're just kind of okay, and I never think to listen to these albums ever. Like, I never think to listen to this one. I never think to listen to Couture's, which is probably my favorite out of these Jason Newsted albums. And then there's Infinity, which is a piece of crap, and, you know, it's all just leftover stuff because Piggy had cancer. Piggy died before Infinity came out, and I think I'm gonna jump out on a limb. I don't really know, but I'd have to guess that, you know, his failing health had a lot to do with just the average songwriting. You know, it's just not great stuff. It's cool that Voivod was back in action and out there and you could go see him live, but to listen to this album, I never think to do it. And I pretty much can say that for all three of these records that they did with Jason Newsted. So
yeah, I think you're going to hear that a lot from all of us. Just real quick, that was released on March 4th, 2003 by Chop House, as you said, which is his label. Also Slip Disc as well. It was produced by Voivod and Brian Dobbs. And so how about we jump over to Mr. Devon? I think we're all going to have a lot of similar feelings on this, unless Marty's the wild card.
Was Piggy dealing with health problems during this record already?
Well, one thing to note is that Piggy's first bout of cancer came in 1988.
It is.
You after Killing, okay.
Well, hang on. He died of colon cancer, but his very first tumor that was discovered was 88 around the Hatros period, and they gave him chemo pills because it was close to his brain. I think it was in his brainstem or near his brainstem. And what ended up happening was they couldn't really safely operate on him, and so they gave him chemo in the form of pills. And the thing that I read kind of made me go, huh? This doesn't seem realistic. But they claim that within 3 to 4 weeks, he had such incredible results from these chemo pills that he was off and running again and everything was cool. But Piggy was dealing with repeated cancer-related health issues from 1988 until he passed away in 2005. So, go ahead.
I mean, didn't he only die like 2 years after this record?
No, he was alive during this record.
I know, I'm saying, didn't he die 2 years after this record, though?
Yes. Yeah.
So you could maybe tell he was more concerned with his health than writing records at this time.
Well, he was doing a hell of a lot of writing for a guy
I don't know.
Sick.
I don't know about that's a huge assumption. I don't know.
I mean, you can kind of tell in the music it's not bad, just it's kind of uninspired. Which just basically sums up this whole era. Which, not a terrible record. I mean, the opening track, what's that one called? Fuck. Gasmask Revival, Facing Up, and Blameless are all great 3 openers, and after that's kind of Like, this album's way too long. It doesn't need to be an hour and 5 minutes. They could have cut off the last 3 or 4 tracks and would have been better, but the next record's definitely better, but this record's like in between. I think Couture's is the best with Jason, and then Infinity is easily the worst. But it was kind of in between those two. So there's that. Definitely.
Matt, if you had to, all right, hang on a sec. If you had to give did Matt leave?
Yeah.
Okay. If you had to give this a rating of 1 to 10, what would you give it?
6.
That's not awful. It's it's just not great. Yeah. Go ahead, Marty. Give us some thoughts. I have some thoughts on the whole Jason.
Well, when this album came out, I was super excited. I drank the Kool-Aid. I liked the stuff that came before it, and hearing Newstead in the band, I was cautiously optimistic. And I guess before I get into it, the good. Let's talk about the good of Jason Newstead. Obviously, that sweet Black Album Money. They're on Shop House. Obviously, you go through the booklet. There's a bunch of really nice photographs. They hired a really good photographer, and Jason also got them on Ozfest. So with Jason Newstead's name, he got them out of being broke up, out of obscurity, and he got them on higher caliber tours. And Jason was all in on this band. He for a while he did that reality show called Rockstar, where he was in a thrown together band with Ted Nugent, Scott Ian, and somebody else. It was on TV. He'd always be on there in a Voivod t-shirt. I mean, he was doing his job to promote the band in little small ways. The bad about Jason, I'm not even going to say this is bad, because it's just, is he the right bass player for the job? I'm going to say no, and I'm not doing it because I'm going to sit here and slam his talent, because he does what he does. Jason is very much a bottom end, a low end bass player, as far as he fills in the lower end, other than on Injustice for All. But his bass tone alone is very heavy and well-rounded. It sounds like every once in a while on this album, he kicks on the distortion to give it a bit of a blower bass Voivod feel. But he is very much a follow the riff guy, and James Hetfield James said when writing stuff, he would turn his back to Jason so Jason couldn't see what he was playing. So it would hopefully inspire and force him to come up with something different than what he was, kind of like Cliff would do. They had a hard time because Cliff was their buddy, and, Cliff was a genius, and Jason was Jason. And, where Jason excels is live, and he's a good bass player. But in Voivod, he did a lot of following the riffs. And when he did break away from that on here, it's when I'm like, oh, it adds a little bit of excitement to it. Because, like you listen to Blackie's bass playing, he's all over the fucking place.
Yeah, he is. Yep.
But when it comes to this album, I listened to the shit out of this album when it came. And I really like it. I liked it then a lot. I've shelved it for many years, and I just picked it up for this to listen to it. I listened to it today, as a matter of fact. And I don't think it holds up as well as it did when it came out. Devon does have a great point. The first 3 or 4 songs are quite good.
Yep.
I really like Facing Up. I think that's a really great song. I really like Real Again. And partially for the fact that Snake is really doing a good job with his singing. He sounds really melodic on this. He sounds really smooth. He sounds confident in his vocals. He's a bit loud in the mix. But the music itself is, you just came out of 2 albums that were pretty dense and very Voivodian sounding. Wait. Marty, the show he was on was called Rockstar Supernova. It was him, Gilby Clarke, and Tommy Lee. Okay.
Oh,
well,
that's right. Yeah.
I'm old and fucking my head is so filled with garbage I can't remember half the shit anyway. But anyway, Piggy's riffs. It's like he took a step back from that dense, like Hatros mixed with Negatron vibe, and he just went more simplistic on this album. He went for catchier and more simplistic. If you wanted to throw out groove metal album on this, I could hear some groove stuff coming into these songs for sure. But is it a bad album? It is not. Where the album kind of turns for me is on this Les Cigarettes Volants, or the Flying Cigar song. That's a crappy song. And after that, there's still some good songs, but they kind of slip a little bit. Let me see here: Reactor, Invisible Planet, Strange and Ironic. I kind of like that song. I like the lyrics of that song. We Carry On is kind of like their, Iron Maiden, mission statement type of thing. But I don't know. I would give this probably a 7.5 if we're gonna go throw around ratings. I like it. I like Jason. I'm happy for Jason Newsted for the fact he's with a band that I think is way better than Metallica, and
that fully appreciated him.
He's fully appreciated.
Yeah.
He's treated as an equal.
Yep.
And if anything, they're looking up to the guy a little bit. Like I said, it's kind of like a sugar daddy kind of situation, but a guy that's actually probably a nice guy and actually is there for the right reasons. So I don't know. I give this a good 7.5. I think it's a good album. It's way better than the two that come after it. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Surprised me a little bit on that. Matt, if you had to give a number to this, what would you give it? Because you weren't as glowing as Marty.
6. I'd give it a 6.
Okay. You're in there with Devon then. All right. Okay. Well, I'm going to be the bad guy here.
Wait. Wet naked girls are here? Where?
Over at Jurgen's house. At Jurgen's house.
Off to Germany.
Hey, Jurgen, we're all heading over after the deep dive.
Hey, Jurgen, I'm getting
leave the lights on. Leave the lights on, buddy.
Nuremberg, here we come.
Sexy black metal. Yes, I brought on the hot babes and the jerk off babes at that too. Yeah. So for me, let's see here. What do I have to say about this? This album isn't as bad as I recalled. When I initially got this, I was supremely underwhelmed and felt it was way too repetitive and way too long. As it stands, the first 3 tracks are pretty solid, as are a few other sporadic tracks on the album. Gasmask Revival, Facing Up, Blame Us are good. I actually kind of like Lace Cigars. I'm not sure why. It has a hummable
cigars.
It's stupid though. The lyrics are stupid. Divine Sun's decent, but again, I expect so much more than decent out of Voivod, and that's really what this is. It's decent, and that's not good enough for me. I will say this on the positive side. The production is fantastic on this album. It's very punchy. It sounds really immense. But the main problem for me this album, and the next 2 in addition, is there just aren't many memorable songs. There's nothing really innovative on this album. Lots of the riffs are pretty mundane and uncomplicated and average for what I've come to expect out of Piggy and Voivod to this point. It's almost a standard straight-ahead hard rock 2000s radio metal album. I'm looking at you, load and reload, and with Snake droning on over the top of the songs. They're not horrible, but again, they're not very exciting and they're not great either. I gave it a 5.5 out of 10 for me. I was glad to have Snake back to agree, but the overall material and direction of this album fell flat for me after the killer 5 albums before that. And now after hearing the 2 E-Force album, it's even more glaring how average this next batch of Voivod albums with Newsted really are to me. So, that's me writing my fucking synopsis there. And again, they don't suck. They're not terrible. They're just, like Matt, I never find myself reaching for these albums. And when I re-listened to them over the last 2 days, I was kind of like, they're not horrible. They're just meh.
There's so many other better Voivod albums to listen to, new and old. Like the Newsted albums are just kind of a dead weight in the middle of their discography.
I agree. But I do agree with Marty in that, and I was not aware that Jason dumped a lot of his own money into this, but it makes sense that he did because they didn't have a record contract. They didn't have a lot of money. And Voivod is one of those bands that has never had a lot of money, unlike certain other metal bands that make it big and then kind of trail off. Voivod's always just been a working man's metal band for the most part, maybe a little bit above the throng of bands that are, doing the 15-passenger van with the trailer on the back and not making any money. I think Voivod's made some money, and certainly Michelle and Snake probably take in the lion's share of it these days. But it just, the Jason albums just don't do much for me. So we'll continue on with the next 2 quickly.
I can't feel this is, I don't know. This is again assumptions. We don't know the financial status of the deals they made and stuff. But when they're in the bigger
True.
labels, like I was saying last time, you know, these labels
Gotta
don't
pay it
give
back.
and they don't give money away like woohoo, free money.
They give you debt. They give you debt.
Exactly. You're taking a loan out against yourself. And if you go with Terry Brown for your, you know, recording or whoever the hell did Nothing Face, and then after that they're like spending all this money.
Glenn Robertson.
They're not working. They're trying to live off the band, spending all this money on producers and all this crap. I mean, that's shit you got to pay back. And I'm sorry, a band like anybody that's a super original band in metal, they have a very small niche of fan base. It's just the way it is. Metal in itself, I mean, yeah, over the years it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, but still in the grand scheme of the entire music industry, it's a very small, often looked down upon niche of fans. So then when you start getting more creative, you're taking a slice out of that fan base. And, you know, a band like Voivod, the fans that love Voivod are fucking rabid about Voivod, but there's a lot of, you know, like Nikki saying, I don't like the vocals, or, you know, the angular, him and Alan with the angular riffs. I mean, you're starting to really dice hairs as far as fan base goes. So you start taking out these huge fucking loans against yourself. You're never going to fucking pay those back.
True.
You're just not.
True.
I mean, you might, but anyway, sorry. So yeah, I mean, it's talking about,
that's a really good point.
Feeling bad about their financial status. It's kind of them shooting their own damn self in the foot if that's the way they approached it. You know, I don't know because I wasn't there. No, I have no idea. But yeah.
And the reality is the I'm sure from, you know, Langevin and from Blackie and Snake and Piggy's perspective, or not Blackie, Piggy and Snake and Away's perspective, that having the interest of Jason Newsted heaped upon you, you know, and having him either come to you, I believe the way I understand it is that Away and Newsted were buddies, and they certainly ran into each other on the touring circuit and on the festival circuit. And somewhere in amongst this, when Newsted walks away from Metallica and has all that Black Album money and you know, whatever his cut on that, all that was, and the touring money, to have a guy like that come to you and go, hey guys, we need to put this band back together. Let me help you finance this and get you guys rolling again.
And money is motivated. He had money. So that's all. They're like,
right.
Oh, money? You got money? Okay, cool.
Right. Let's do
this.
In. And
if you're in, I'm in. Like on the song. If you're in, I'm in. Like on this fucking
Now, album. I never saw him during this period of time, and I don't even recall much in the turn. You know, this is very infancy of the internet. So 2003 through 2006, when they did these albums, I don't really remember hearing about them doing a lot of tours. So, you know, and I think Marty,
I know they did Ozfest. They did.
They were doing festivals at that time. They weren't really doing a lot of tours. They did a couple of regional ones, I think. But, you know, Piggy's health was a factor during this time as well. So that was a big part of it, too. And also, you know, the death of Piggy is the reason why Jason Newsted left the band, too. And we'll get to that when we get to Infinity, I'm sure. But
we're almost there. So, all right, Matt, do you want to show anybody got anything else, Dad?
And maybe like someone being in such a popular band like Metallica, they're like, oh, if maybe they gave him more motivation to get back together.
Well, sure. I mean, a lot of people I mean, Jason Newsted was always the likable one of that whole bunch. And he was always the one that went the long distance for the fans, signed all the shit. When the other band was like, Metallica were like, bye, Jason. And he was still out signing fucking autographs and stuff.
And they were laughing at Jason. He was the man. He was the fan guy. And he's a good dude. I think he's a good dude from everything I've seen. And he walked after the whole, you know, the monster, you know, the bullshit with the fucking therapist and all that stuff. He's like, fuck this, man. I don't need this. And he was not. He was not appreciated, and also he had a project called Echo Brain that he was putting together. And initially, well, be that as it may, he was going to put that together with the backing of Metallica's PR people and the record label. And then James got wind of it and said, nah. And when that happened, that's when Jason said, fuck these guys, man, because that's bullshit. And I gotta believe Lars seems like a likable guy, but I'm sure he's a douche. And
that's debatable.
And I think James is a douche, and
he is, but he has come out recently and said like he gets it now. Like they always had such huge animosity against Jason for leaving the band, but recent interviews with James Hetfield, he said, no, I get it now. Like, we did not treat him well ever. We were stifling his creativity. We're all musicians here, but we were looking at him as a hired hand. He was never really one of us. So yeah, he left the band. I get it. I understand it. Is he going to be welcomed back into the band? No, of course not. But that's a story.
He did come back and do that 30-year.
That's true.
The shows at the Fillmore in San Francisco. Yeah, he came back and did all that shit. Yep.
I think he's a good dude. Yeah. He's a good dude, and hey man, he walked away with probably a nice boatload of cash.
Well, what they say, the Black Album still sells 9,000 albums a week.
It's just crazy.
That's crazy.
That's insane, dude.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't hate that album like a lot of people do, but it's insane that it still sells like that. But
crazy.
Wow. Okay.
Man, this Naked HD just keeps coming back. They are dedicated to this stream more so than the actual Voivod fans.
Jurgen, I'm thinking seriously about sending you a link to this live stream and inviting you on, but only if you'll dance naked for all of us. You think that over and you let me know in the comments if that's agreeable to you.
The last time he was on Heavy Metallurgy afterwards, we talked. Him and I were up. I was up till 5 a.m. drinking with him, and it was like going on 11 or 12 the next day. His time. He's a fucking war. Cheers to you, Jurgen, man. I love you, brother. Cheers.
All right,
that's dedication. Here we go. That is dedication.
Here we go, Matt. I'm going to give a quick little history on the next album here, and
before you do that, Jeff. Before you do that,
okay.
In between the self-titled and Couture's, there was this infamous project, Probot, which features art by Away. He did the cover, he did the logo, and Snake is doing vocals on the song Dictatorus, however you say it. And not my favorite song on this Probot release.
That's not mine either.
It is very much Snake on vocals. It is Dave Grohl trying to write a Voivodian kind of a song. It's okay, and I just wanted to pull this out and show it to bring it back full circle to the unfortunate passing of the Foo Fighters.
Although I will say that Probot album is pretty fucking kick-ass.
This album rules. Yeah. So
and it should be noted that yesterday, eerily, Dave Grohl released his heavy metal album. Did you guys hear about this?
No.
It's good. I listened to it yesterday.
It's fucking real good. It's real good.
He's kind of a metalhead. I mean, obviously that Probot.
He's a metalhead.
Every artist that he picked, he wrote the song in the style of the vocalist, which tells me he did his homework. He's a fan.
Oh,
what's the name of the metal album?
That's kind of painful. Yeah, what's the name of it, Matt? Do you remember?
Dream
Widow?
Dream Widow. That's it. Yeah.
Dream Widow. And I got to say, I listened to 3 songs, and it's fucking ripping. There's one song that's a super stoner doom metal track called Cold. The other one's called Encino that sounds like a ripping fucking Mr. Bungle thrash tune. And then I forget the other one that's like a real heavy song. I was impressed. There's
a total thrash song on that record too. I mean, that's really the one. Good. I can't think of the name. He only released it digitally. I don't know if there's going to be a physical copy coming out, but
I think
it's still worth listening to, everybody out there. So check it out.
I think that thrash song is called Something for the Insane, something insane.
Beast for the Insane or something like that.
That's it. Yeah.
But anyway, on to Couture's.
I'm going to go get a beer. I'll be right back. So keep talking.
All right. So Couture's, this is really where Piggy was going downhill, and it shows on this record very, very much. And the things that were going on with Piggy is the reason why this is the only Voivod album that has the members on the cover that does not feature full artwork by Away. This is the only one. And it's because they were really upset about Piggy dying and, you know, being on his way out. And they weren't feeling very good. And they didn't want an album with a bunch of monsters and creatures and stuff like that on the cover. So that's why this album looks the way it does. And as far as the songs go, I mean, there's some days where I think that this is better than the self-titled. There's some days that I don't. This is just another really meh kind of a record. I mean, it has some standout tracks. I think Mr. Clean is kind of a really annoying song, honestly. But, you know, there's some good stuff on here. But again, just like Infinity and the self-titled, I just never really cared to listen to this one that much. I think Snake's vocals are kind of nasally and really annoying on this record. And I really cannot find much good to say about it other than, you know, it feels like they were trying to bring back some of the proggier stuff on this record, some more of the weirdness, but it doesn't gel. It doesn't come together as well as it did on other stuff. So really, that's all I got to say on this one. So I don't know if anybody else has anything better to say about Couture, however you want to pronounce it. But
so what do you give that in your rating out of 10?
Like I said, some days I think it's as good, slightly better, or slightly worse than the self-titled. So I'm going to give it
about the same,
a 5.5 or a 6. I mean, it's okay. It's just okay.
Devon, what's up?
Yeah, this is my favorite of the Jason stuff, but that's honestly not really saying much because, I mean, it starts off good and then kind of quickly falls off a cliff. Like the first two songs, The Getaway and Dog Nation, are decent, but then like later, what's the one? No Angel's good, but then the rest of the record is just kind of like not very good, but better than what's to come, but still not very decent. If I'm going to reach for one of the Jason records, which I probably won't that often, but it'll be this one, but again, not saying much. But rating like 6.25 out of 10, maybe.
6.25?
Yeah.
It's almost like a pie, kind of, but doubled. I don't know.
Kind of.
3.14 times 2, man. Take that, mathematicians.
You're a math magician.
You're a math magician. You're a math surgeon, Maze of Torment. All right. Yeah, did we tell the release date and all that shit, or did I fall off the cliff on that one?
Go ahead.
All right, I'll do that. I'll do that when I get to mine. Go ahead, Marty.
It's July 25th, 2006.
All right, thank you.
There's another promo for me. I've got it on vinyl, but I forgot to pull it. So these guys were on the N Records at this point, which ended up being the label that put out Agalock and stuff, and then eventually ended up putting out bigger artists like Juliette Lewis and all sorts of other weird shit. But,
yeah, that's weird what that label ended up doing. They had Agalock,
weird.
they had Anathema, they even had Opeth
Yep.
for a very short while, distribution wise. So very strange label.
That when this album came out, I wasn't feeling it. It just isn't. Say what you want about this thing. There's a lot of catchy shit on it, which, you know, it's not as complex and proggy, and it's just more of a straight ahead, rocking, fun, kind of catchy thing. This here, I listened to it the other day. I'm like, oh, I like this better than I remember it being, but still, it's not Odds and Frauds. I didn't like that song. I don't know. There's just the band. There was some bad things going on. I mean, obviously, life happens, and so does death, and it's a lot to deal with. And during this time, Piggy's getting sick. He's starting to cram riffs and
a
songs.
lot of shit on a computer.
He's starting to cram a bunch of shit into a computer. And just before he died, he told the band where all the shit was, so they could at least keep going and put out another album or so, which they did. They, it just, the feeling isn't there. The spirit isn't there. I think he was just continuing on as long as he could to keep his mind busy, which is, what are you going to do, man? The fact that he did it right up to the end is salute to that. And
pretty mind blowing, actually, to be that ill and to be struggling like that.
Yeah.
And to be that creative, even that late into a disease, is pretty mind blowing.
Yeah, but it's a good album. It sits probably pretty parallel with the one in front of it, I think. Again, this is probably these two are the my least explored Voivod records, to be honest.
Same,
I mean,
same.
Did I hate them? I didn't hate them, but anyway, we'll get into Infinity here next, but it's okay. I'd give it a 6, I guess.
Okay. Very quick notes on this one because I don't have a lot to say about it. It came out on The End and Nuclear Blast. It was recorded at Chop House, Piccolo, Multi Sons in Montreal. Glenn Robinson is back, the guy that did Nothing Face. He's back for production and Voivod as well. It's primarily composed of guitar-based demos that Piggy had recorded as his health was declining with Jason Newsted out in California at his house and studio out there. The drums, vocals, and some of the bass was re-recorded and refinished and re-recorded after Piggy passed on 8/25/05, August 25th. Again, this is a little better than I recall it being.
Yeah,
I think I recalled back then it just sucked, and I put it on the shelf to collect dust and never went back to it. But having to do that, and that's what's great about these deep dives, you kind of get to revisit that stuff. And I think Pat did a video about what was the topic on that, about changing views or whatnot on an album.
Yeah,
I think if you'd
change your opinion though.
Yeah, I think if you'd have hit me on this album back in the day, I'd have been like, this sucks. I really would have. I'd have been like, this shit's lame. But listening to it now, it's not as bad. But I probably haven't played this much since I got it in 2006. Think about that. That's a long time ago. So, again, as I recall thinking this was pretty terrible when I got it, when it came out. The production's very sharp again. A little clinical, and the guitar tone is very upfront and in your face and hard in your face. But there just aren't many memorable songs again on display. And that's the problem with the Jason era. There just isn't a lot of stuff that gets under. There aren't any earworms at all. Not that Voivod was ever kind of a classic, like Blue Oyster Cult, Fear the Reaper. That's an earworm you just cannot fucking forget. Or, Heart with Crazy on You or something like that. Voivod was never that band, but there just isn't much to hang your hat on with this. The Getaway and the X Factor are probably the two most memorable songs on this album, and that's honestly not the best thing, is they're pretty repetitive and sort of uninspired. They lock into a groove on many songs and sort of hit cruise control, and there's very little in this album. There's even less weird of the Voivod weirdness to my ear than there was on the self-titled one. The album sounds tired and given Piggy's declining health and the fact that they all had to have known he was going to die at a young age. I guess it makes sense that this wouldn't be an amazing album because of that. Although David Bowie put out one of his greatest albums ever, knowing he was dying of cancer.
Yeah, Black Star is pretty awesome.
It's
great. Fucking
that
amazing.
album rules.
Yeah, it's a good album.
That fucking album
good.
is amazing, man. And that's coming from a guy who rarely put out shit. So
I don't own any Bowie, but I own that one and I like it.
Oh, it's fucking amazing, man. Yeah. Amazing. This is a weird Jason era album in that it has the added sadness that Piggy's illness cast over it, and it felt like there was just a ghost over the whole package, the whole situation. It felt weird even trying to get into it when I was listening to it, and it was when I got this album, I didn't even bother buying Infinity 3 years later because I was like, well, it's probably really going to suck. It's either going to be boring or it's really going to suck. For me, Couture's is a 4 out of 10, man. And that's really pushing it. So I'm the odd man out on that one. You guys seem to like it a little better than I did. But and we want to talk about Infinity. I keep saying Infinity quick.
Infinity will be super quick because I have very little to say about this one other than my version is this Nuclear Blast compilation that put Couture's and Infinity together onto a double CD. It's a Euro press. I found it at my local record shop. Had to get it because I never bothered buying Infinity until I saw this for $5. So
that's worth it then. Yeah.
But it does have the full cover on the inside, so there you go, right there. This album, I mean, it's all like Marty said. Piggy had crammed a computer full of riffs and ideas so that the band would have something that they could still play with after he was gone, and that's exactly what this album sounds like.
Yep.
It sounds like it's completely disjointed, that everybody was in a different room when they recorded it, and they very likely possibly were. I mean, Piggy's gone. Well, they just have riffs that they're working with. And one of the things about this record too was it was supposed to be, I don't know if you've got notes about this already, Jeff, but I'm gonna jump in anyway.
Go for it.
They were originally supposed to have Eric Forrest and Blackie back on this record as kind of a tribute to Piggy. It was supposed to be all three bass players back on the band, and it was going to be like a super group of Voivod just playing these Piggy riffs, and that's what the album was supposed to be. And it didn't work out. I think something happened with Blackie. He decided not to do it. Eric Forrest, they kind of have a trepidatious kind of a relationship with him. So
my mom says I gotta sue you guys, so fuck off.
Yeah, like it just didn't come together. So it just wound up being Jason Newsted playing on it. But that was his exit point. He had no interest in continuing with Voivod without Piggy. I don't think he thought that the band could continue. So he was done. And with his money disappearing, Voivod had broken up pretty much all over again. But they come back with 3 fantastic records, which we're going to get into soon, which I'm really excited about because I love the modern Voivod records. So, that really makes me want to just toss this aside, and you guys can just say, yeah, it sucks. And then can we talk about the new Voivod stuff? That's all I'm going to say.
I've got nothing to say about it. You said everything I would.
I didn't know about the bass trio thing that I did not come across. So that's an interesting.
That would have been kind of cool.
It's in that Worlds Away book that Away wrote. It's in there. The plan. That book came out when they were
2009
starting to work on that stuff. So that was the original plan. It just didn't happen. So
that's interesting. And Blackie,
that would have been cool. It would have been cool. And I think Blackie did come back very briefly for like a tour or something. But
he was back. He was back for an album too. Target Earth. He's on Target Earth.
Yeah, he does play on Target Earth. So
it's a very.
But then he was gone again. So.
That's an interesting story. Blackie appears to be the Dave Lombardo of Voivod. He's in and out, and he's always questioning what the finances are. And it appears that he may have some legitimacy to that concern, but it appears that Away, and once Piggy died, it appears that Away and Snake kind of took full reins of, and I think Away has always kind of been the de facto leader of the band when you
absolutely
when you look at it. But I think Blackie's resented that, and because he was an original guy, and Away wasn't. Originally, it was Piggy and Blackie that started the band. So there's a lot of contention there, but he did come back in 2011, I think, to play festivals, and he did dates with them, and then he did the Target Earth album once they got Chewy in there, and we're going to get to that in a minute. So what do you got to say, Devon? Anything significant about Infinity?
Can we just go to Target Earth? This record kind of sucks. I'll say that.
There we go.
Rating like a 2.5 out of 10.
Oh, yeah. What do you got on that, Matt? Nah, about the same?
3. I'd give it a 3.
Marty, anything?
I don't know, man. I got about 4 songs into it, and I couldn't finish it this week, and I can't rate it. It's not good. It's under 5. Under 5.
Yeah, oh, shit. What happened there? Sorry, I muted you by accident there. I actually did get through it, surprisingly. For the very first time in my life, I'd never listened to this album before. And I'm I'm getting a weird feedback. You guys hearing that?
Yeah, I'm hearing a buzz sound.
It's the sex
Hang on.
robots.
The Voivod sex robot.
What the fuck is going on here, man?
I can hear the fuzzy sound now. Now I can hear it.
Yeah, I hit Marty.
Sounds like
it
might be your fan, wherever your
Nah,
fan
that
is.
never ever affects anything.
I hear it tapping, Marty. What do you do with your hands?
It's not me.
Your hand.
No, I hit Marty on mute and it went fucking haywire there. All right, we'll see how we can get through this. Infinity for me, just a couple quick notes. Last recordings of demos from his laptop hard drive. The fact that they were actually able to piece this album together at all is pretty amazing. And it's really simply down to the flexibility of digital recording because they wouldn't have been able to do it otherwise. Usually the drum tracks are laid down first in most situations, but in this case, it was mainly guitar tracks that were laid down and some rudimentary drum programming, but not very much actually from what I read. There was some drum machine bed tracks for this, but it couldn't have been an easy thing to do to put this together.
It'd be sad to do it too. It's probably a fucking sad labor of love,
But again, there just aren't very many good, memorable tracks here. And God, the lyrics on this, holy fuck, they're terrible. The lyrics are absolutely, absolutely terrible. God phones.
Oh, that's a terrible fucking song.
Oh my God, it's fucking awful, man. Global Warning has a cool groove, a little bit like The Prowl, but that's about it. Room with a View is interesting in its drony dreariness, jangling weirdness. Treasure Chase is probably the coolest groove on here and most memorable song. And Morpheus and Volcano are okay, but the other thing that really stands out on this thing is Snake seems obviously disinterested in writing anything lyrically that's remotely isn't dumb. And that kind of kills it for me, as does his vocals on this. I think his vocals on this album fucking suck, to be honest with you. I don't own this CD and frankly likely won't buy it ever unless I find it in a cutout bin for a couple bucks like Matt did. I don't even know if I'd spend $5 on it, man. So this one here
it did come with Couture's as well. It's a double disc. And so I didn't have a standalone copy of Couture's at the time, so I was like, "Oh, $5 for those two records, yeah, sold.
$250 a piece. That's a deal. I get it." To me, this is barely a 3, and that's really being generous. Should be noted that New Steph left the band officially in 2008 as they planned on Infinity being the last Voivod album. But then Blackie returns in August of 2008 is when he came back. I said 11. And then with the addition of Dan Mongrain, who had his own band, Martyr. He played in Gorguts, Cryptopsy. They started to book festivals again worldwide, and then a few years of simply touring. Doing that touring schedule, they finally recorded Target Earth. And Target Earth was released on 1/22/13 through Century Media, recorded in Montreal, Quebec at a few different studios and produced by the band. So, Matt, you want to pop that one up and talk about it a wee bit?
Yeah, so Target Earth, I mean, I don't think anybody really expected much from this after those Jason Newsted albums, but holy crap, I mean, this album's great. I think this album trumps everything from the Jason Newsted era. It is classic Voivod. It's almost like a greatest hits kind of a record in the way that it sounds. It just really pulls back everything that you knew and you loved about Voivod. My favorite song on here is Klushkap Okum, I think is how you pronounce it. Such a weird song. It just is so strange. And you just, I don't know, man. What's the name of the guy that is the guitarist now? I always forget his name.
Mongrain.
Daniel Mongrain.
But he goes by the name Chewy, right?
Chewy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Chewy, his whatever you call it, his channeling of the spirit of Piggy, it's gotten better and better and better as it went along. And even here on Target Earth, you can hear it and you're like, how is it possible that anybody could replicate the style of Piggy? But
exactly
Chewy does it, man. And he even sounds better on the next two records than he does on this one. But this
Agreed.
one, but like before The Wake and the new one came out, this was my jam. I mean, I listened to this all the time. This was also the first time I saw Voivod live. It was when they were touring this record still. And second time I saw them is when they were touring the Post Society EP. I don't know if we're going to talk about that one or not, but
real quick.
Just real quick, we can go over that.
Yep.
But I mean, he nails it. He nails it. And I really don't have a song on here that I don't like. I mean, Klushkop Okom is my favorite. I also really like Mechanical Mind, Resistance, Artifact. I mean, there's just a lot of great ones on here. And that artwork is just superb. Yeah. I mean, it looks like a Fallout video game almost. I mean, it's like Fallout in space. It's
very
really cool. It's a really great artwork. And yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. And dare I say it, is that possibly the Voivod?
Well, it is. If you look at the plugs,
yep.
If you look at the plugs on Phobos, the plugs
returned.
in the face are in the same spot.
Yeah. I never noticed that.
The little tubes plugged into his side there. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
So yeah, like Jurgen says, I mean, this brought the weird back, and you just had 3 albums from this band that weren't weird at all, and it was a great return to form. Great return to form for Voivod. Fantastic.
I agree. What do you got there, Devon?
Finally, an album actually worth revisiting too. Took a while, but yeah, man, I don't know how Chewy did it. He basically sounds exactly like Piggy. If you listen to this and the few albums before, you would notice different guitars. He definitely did his homework on studying Piggy's style, but it's good. But next ones to come, I still like better. But this is definitely one of their better records in a long time. So good to see them back to actually being memorable. Favorite song, yeah, Corpus at the Gear, whatever. But this is kind of a return to some of the like slightly thrashier stuff, like on Dimension Hatros. So this and the next 3 albums are kind of like, to me, like a modern version of Dimension mixed with Nothing Face. But yeah,
that's good take. That's good.
Out of 10, 7.5.
Yeah, what do you got on that, Matt?
It's a 9.
9.
It's a 9 for me.
Okay, I'm gonna make a real bold statement here. Chewy saved Voivod. It's that
exactly
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
More so than Jason Newsted did.
Well, you're probably right. It's financially bringing them back into the. But as far as
creatively
taking the band back to where it belongs with the fan base and reinvigorating the fan base and reinvigorating the band itself,
I mean, he makes it work. He made it work. I mean,
Chewy's the guy.
He was able to replicate the sound that Piggy brought to that band, and without that sound, there is no Voivod. I mean, They couldn't have gotten anybody else in there playing regular ass metal, and it would have worked. Like, it wouldn't have happened. They needed somebody that could do weird and do it well.
But I have a little take on Dan and
Chewy
Piggy coming up that maybe might ruffle some feathers, but we'll see when we get there in a minute or two. Marty, what do you got on Target Earth?
I bought this the day it came out from FYE. I was, again, cautiously optimistic. Blackie's back in the band. I bought this. I put it in the car. I'm driving home. There's a weird production thing I noticed it right away. I liked it. It had like a wash about it. Like there's a wash, like a digital wash in the background to it. I don't know if that was intentional or... I listened to it a good 5 or 6 times. I thought it was really good. I was shocked. Daniel, I've heard that he's like the protege of Piggy. I don't know what that means. If he got guitar lessons from him, I don't understand. I don't understand how that works. But you put Daniel next to Piggy. Everybody says he sounds just like Piggy. If you put the 2 guitarists playing, I would be able to tell, I think, which was Piggy and which was not.
I agree.
For the fact that Piggy is more organic, it seems more natural. For Daniel, he's amazing. He is absolutely amazing, but it sounds like a guy that's really fucking good trying to play like Piggy, if that makes sense. I'm not saying that's a bad thing because he saved it. And putting this on this week, I was like instantly like, what the fuck was I thinking? I liked it. but I wasn't like blown. I wanted to be blown away by this record when it came out, and I wasn't blown away by the record. And but I was kind of blown away by it this week, if that makes sense. It's just like Blackie sounds like Blackie. The bass sound isn't as, you know, rattly blower bass as I wanted it. It's got a little bit more low end in the production, but and he isn't as crazy as he used to be as far as, you know, the crazy bass lines and stuff. But him and Daniel work really well together. This album is quite good. I am not super familiar enough with the track listings to tell you favorites, other than I tried to take it as a whole piece, and I like it. I like it a lot better than I did the day it came out. I don't know what I was thinking the day it came out. I was going into it, I guess, a little less enthused than I thought I was going to be. I picked it apart too much, but you know, it's a great album. I would have to say 8. Now it's a good 8.5 for me.
You know, you and I are pretty much on the same. Damn it! I hit the wrong button again. You and I are pretty much on the same track there, Marty. When I pre-ordered it from online, and they sent it. It came in a. I don't have my stuff, unfortunately, because it's still buried. I didn't look for it because I knew you guys would all have it. But I got like it came with like a special edition thing, and it came with like I'm thinking there was a pin and a patch and all that stuff. And frankly, it's buried somewhere. Do you have that, Matt? No? Okay. And, you know, I think like you, Marty, first of all, I was happy to hear them sound like Voivod again.
Me too. It was even more so than Piggy was at the end.
Yes.
This sounds like Voivod more than Voivod did at the time.
Right.
You know?
Right. And so, you know, the cool angular dissonance was there, but it was in context of songs that were good, that made sense. Was it mind-blowing at the time? No, I don't think it was. But in re-listening to it today, it's the first time I've listened to it in years. I was like, well, what was I thinking? This is really fucking good.
It's really good.
Is it as good as the two that are coming? Not quite. But
this is the safety net.
Exactly.
Like we were saying, Daniel showed that Voivod could live on as Voivod without their spiritual creative force.
Right.
And what comes next is Daniel settling into this style and writing some killer fucking music.
Yeah, sure. But what Daniel also showed was that he could write with those guys.
Yep.
It was clear that he could play. He had the pedigree. He played with Cryptopsy. He played with Gorguts. He played because he's on Wisdom to Hate, right? I believe. Yep. From Wisdom to Hate, I believe.
Yep.
He's got how many Martyr albums? 3 or 4, I believe. 3.
The only thing I own by them is a demo.
Okay.
An actual demo.
I'm waiting to hear back from him.
For
some dumb fucking reason, I didn't think to reach out to him. I'm actually asking him if he wants to come on and do an interview. I actually sent him an email today. I was like, why didn't I touch base with him? I've talked to him quite a few times after shows that I've gone to see. Matt, like you, this was after seeing them in Nothing Face for the first time with Soundgarden and with Faith No More, like the same tour that Marty did. And I forgot to mention, I think I told Marty this, but I don't know if you guys know this. Well, Devon knows it. But real quick to go back to that real fast. When I got to the venue, I was talking to Bill Gould, and I didn't even know who he was. We're just drinking a beer, and Snake walked up, and I started talking to Snake. And Snake back then in 89 or 90, January 90, really wasn't very good with English. You know, he was struggling to get what I was, you know, the fanboy shit, and I was there to see them. Yeah, and during Astronomy Domine, Snake pulled me up on stage because I was pretty fucking hammered. And I was right at the front of the stage, and he pulled me up on the stage for the second verse, and I sang the second verse of Astronomy Domine at that fucking show at the Chameleon Club in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, January 23rd or 25th, 1990. And it was fucking rad, man. I was on stage with Voivod.
Please tell me that's going to be on your tombstone. I want that entire paragraph etched on a rock for you, because that's going to be awesome.
Can we not talk about tombstones right now? That's a little touchy.
I'm
Anyway,
just saying.
I got you. I got you. Listen, if you pay for it, it'll be on there. I got you.
Sold.
No, I'm not lying.
I will totally pay for that for you.
I
That's
am
fine.
fucking not making this up. I'm not lying. It happened. It was fucking brilliant. It was my moment of all moments, and it was fucking glorious. And then Snake kicked me in the ass, and I didn't even really expect it. He just came around, grabbed the mic out of my hand, kicked me in the ass, and I did my one and only stage dive. It was not very eloquent, I will say that. Or not eloquent. Great. What's the graceful? Graceful is the word I was looking for.
That's awesome, though. That's
yeah, it was
story,
super fucking kick-ass. It's just amazing. Anyway, let me do some quick notes on this one, and we'll roll on. Target Earth 122 13th century meta, blah 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 blah. Right away, Chewie announces with his incredible playing that he can and will fill the massive shoes left by Piggy's death, which had most Voivod fans, especially me, pretty worried. He literally doesn't miss a single dissonant, angular, obtuse beat at all. Also, Blackie's blower bass is back and gloriously prominent as it should be. I don't know if I hear it a little bit more than you, Marty, but I think I hear it a lot on there.
Well, I hear it. It just seems a little more rounded off than
it could be.
It wasn't as sharp and jagged.
I think the production on the album's a little bit more, like you said, it's a little more washy. I agree with that. It's a really good point. Thankfully, Snake sounds like Snake again. What he was doing on the Jason era albums, I'll never quite get because he never sounded right on them to me. That's just me, but I just don't think Snake sounded right on those albums. But on here, he sounds great in his weird, nasally, strange way again on Target Earth. And the Voivod I knew and loved is back for the most part here. Opening track right away told me to breathe easy, that Voivod was in good hands with Chewie. He's a stud and killer writer, and you can hear how Blackie's writing also influenced because he helped out. He and Chewie wrote most of the material on here. He's super busy, both in a supportive role.
Chewie, you mean Blackie?
What did I say?
You said Chewie.
Chewie and Blackie. Both.
Okay, right. Oh, right on. Right
as
on,
a killer, as a duo, they wrote a lot of these songs together.
Gotcha. I heard it differently than what. Never mind.
Yeah, Blackie's writing influence. I'm trying to read this quick so I'm not black on the screen for a long period of time. He's super busy and both supportive of the guitars and yet stands out all over many of these tracks. Empathy for the enemy has a real Dimension Hatros, Nothing Face, Outer Limits feel to it. Very proggy but yet angular, and most importantly, Voivodian. Mechanical Mind is so Voivod, it's having Voivod babies in the song, a killer track. Actually, there are no real standout tracks on this album, oddly, for me, because they all kind of hit the spot and sound like a close to perfect mixture of DH, Dimension Hatros, Nothing Face, Angel Rat, and The Outer Limits. There isn't much thrash on here, but it's a killer mix of Voivodian weirdness and a lot of proggy fusion-y oddness that Dan brings to the table. Production's excellent. The mix is awesome. You hear every instrument perfectly balanced. Snake sounds totally engaged. His lyrics are far more in line with the old weird, world-weary commentary on sci-fi, futuristic annihilation, and apocalyptic worldviews on social issues. Far better than Infini's crapola. I found myself sort of lost in this album as it progressed. There are no massive standout tracks. They're all just very good.
Yeah.
Maybe my only small complaint, and some of the tracks are a little bit long for their own good, but it's a very small complaint, as most of them I just really dig the way they are. It's a strong 8.5 for me. I'm not going to go 9. And surprise, surprise, Blackie leaves again, or is forced out if you believe him. The band in 2014, after requesting a band meeting to discuss finances and income, you're hearing this again, seems he's the Dave Lombardo of Voivod, or perhaps Away and Snake really aren't willing to cede control to him over the band's direction and finances. So that leads us to Post Society 22616 Century Media. Matt, do you have that one?
So I do not have a physical copy of Post Society, but what I do have are the 7-inch singles that comprise most of the songs on Post Society. And I have the t-shirts, so those of you who want to see the artwork, that was the artwork for Post Society.
Cool artwork too. I love that one.
Excellent EP. I mean, this was a band that was never really known for doing a lot of EPs, so it's strange that they waited until this time to actually do one. But you know, the songs that I have on these 7 inches are great. You know, this one was We Are Connected, which long-term fans of Voivod know, like, that term comes up a lot in their songs. There's a lot of song clips where they say we are connected and stuff like that. And this was the first time they actually wrote the song We Are Connected. And all of these 7 inches are splits with other bands on Century Media at the time. So We Are Connected came with an At the Gates song, Language of the Dead. Another great piece of artwork from Away.
Yeah, that's so cool looking. I never saw these.
Yeah, these were not very widely available. I don't remember how I came across them. Might have bought them at the show. I don't honestly remember. But We Are Connected.
I don't remember them. I don't even remember them talking about them or being online. They must have been, but I just don't remember it.
I mean, this is a great song, though. We Are Connected. It is a great Voivod song. Language of the Dead, who cares? It's At the Gates. But moving on, then you got Forever Mountain, which is another great piece of art.
Sweet.
And then it was with Napalm Death.
I've got that one. That's the one I have. Yeah.
Yep. And this is a great song. I mean, I like this 7-inch. Solid stuff here. And then my favorite out of the 3, Fall, which had an Entombed AD song, Gospel of the Horns, which is also very, very solid. So beyond these, I don't have Post Society. I've never gotten around to adding that to my collection. So really all I can comment are that these 3 songs are great. They do kind of sound like they're leftover songs from the writing process of Target Earth. So if you really like Target Earth, I don't see why you wouldn't like Post Society. But as far as it being like a great, comprehensive, must recommend kind of a Voivod release, I can't do it because it's just an EP. Outside of those 3 songs, I think there's only a couple of others on there, and I can't really comment on those. So, well, do any of you have Post Society? I'm curious.
I have it in my version of
The Wake,
but I don't have The Wake on me. Unfortunately, I can't find it. Do you have it, Marty?
I bought at Vertigo Records in Grand Rapids a version of Post Society on Digipack in the used bin. I got real cheap. I got home, opened it up, no CD in it. So I went, motherfucker, and threw it in the garbage can. But thankfully, The Wake, it's got Post Society on it. I guess the only thing on here, it sounds good. Like Matt said, it sounds like a bunch of stuff that didn't make Target Earth. It's got a Silver Machine cover from Hawkwind. Not a favorite song of mine, and I did not actually listen to this. I forgot to listen to that before we did this. So most of the shit I listened to this week was on Spotify.
Yeah, the Hawkwind cover is pretty straightforward. It's not really eventful, but I actually love Hawkwind, so that song's pretty cool. But it's not anything super special. But I did you listen to this, Devon?
Yeah, I agree. It sounds like leftover stuff from Target Earth.
That's all you got?
Yeah.
Okay, what am I doing here? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I agree with you guys on that. The first song, Post Society, is really cool.
It's a great song.
We Are Connected is great. I mean, that's a long ass proggy. There's lots going on in that. Let me hit my notes quick. Century Media 22616, multiple studios. Think the first thing we didn't mention about is this is the first album or first material with Dominique LaRoche on bass, and that's Rocky, the new bass. Well, he's not new now, but was new then. This was kind of a holdover EP until they could get a full-length album put out. Post Society is a banger. I really like that song, man. Lots of killer riffage, and Snake sounds great. Has a bit of a punky vibe. Forever Mountain's cool and punky and proggy, weird as usual. What's the song after that, Matt? No, you don't have it, right?
He left. It's just me and you.
No. Yeah, it's all killer guitar on this one, and a smoking solo.
I'm back. Sorry, I remembered that I do have this on CD as well, and it does have.
Oh, you do?
It does have the full Post Society EP on here. I always listen to the record, so I sometimes forget I have the CD.
What's the third song called?
some live tracks from the 70,000 Tons of Metal cruise on this as well.
Oh, that's right. That's on there too. What's the third track on there after Forever Mountain?
Well, let me see if I can find that out for you. Hold on.
Uno momento, por favor. I have it right here. 1, 2, 3. Fall.
Yeah,
Fall. Okay. Yeah, that's a really dreary fusion-y chordal diminished sequence thing that goes into a real angular proggy gallop. And man, Chewie does this crazy Holdsworth solo on there that's amazing. And We Are Connected, Tour de Force of Prog Vod Weirdness. That's a killer track. The Silver Machine's a Hawkwind cover that's solid, but if by numbers. I'm going to make this statement that, maybe everyone will be like, oh, I can't believe you're saying this. But to me, Chewie's a better pure guitarist than Piggy is. And the reason I say that is
he's more precise. He's more precise.
Well, he's more of a clinician. There's no question. Yeah. Chewie was massively influenced by Piggy's style of play, that's without question, especially for note and chordal choices and phrasing in particular. But as a soloist, Chewie's a much better soloist.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
It's just the reality of it. I'm just telling you. I'm not the world's greatest guitar player, but I'm pretty decent. And Chewie fucking is amazing, man. He's
a beast.
Yeah, I've seen him do a note for note transcription of Alan Holdsworth solos and play them note for note. And believe me, only a few players in the world are capable of doing that kind of shit, because Alan Holdsworth was on another planet. Steve Vai often says about Alan Holdsworth, he was talking in a different language than anyone else that's playing guitar. And Chewie's there, man. Just so in case you didn't know it, Chewie actually teaches at a local college in Montreal. I forget the name of it, but he's actually a college professor of music, and he has a degree in, I want to say he has a master's, but I could be wrong. I think he's either got an undergraduate degree in modern jazz theory and guitar, or it's a master's degree. And dude, it's probably a master's because he's teaching. But he is fucking amazing, man. And he does give lessons online. But as good as I think I am, I'm almost afraid to ask him for a lesson because I don't want to look fucking really shitty to him.
Well, that would explain a lot as to why he's able to mimic the style of Piggy if he's a classically trained jazz musician. I mean, he's probably like, oh, yeah, that's some weird discordant shit. I can do that.
I can figure that out. Yeah. He actually did recently. He did in the last 6 months or so. He did a note for note transcription of Jason Becker's "Perpetual Burn."
Yeah,
which, if you've ever heard that song, is fucking mind blowing. And Jason Becker would have been the next Yngwie Eddie, guitar guy, but he, unfortunately, has ALS or whatever. Yeah, I guess is that what he has? ALS, right?
Yeah.
Again. To figure that out and note for note transcribe that, you're not human for the most part. You're not a guitar player like me, because I couldn't fucking figure that out.
You're a guitar mega geek, basically.
Yeah, you are a mega fucking nerd, and you're fucking brilliant.
Which is cool. You're brilliant. I'm not discrediting it. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. Just to address Rick's comment here. Hey, motherfucker, I was ripping on that second verse of Astronomy Domine. I'm telling you, I was a boss. Just saying. Anyway,
that's why Snake kicked you off the stage. He felt his job was in jeopardy.
I'm saying. Anyway, all right. So let's see what else we got here real quick. Target straight 9. Post Society has not a killer cover. Yeah, yep. Okay, I have all the 7 inches. Of course you do, Jurgen. Okay, what else we got? Alan Holdsworth, yes, monster. All right, so we're going to the final 2 albums here.
And this is really, man, I might say some real controversial stuff here, but
let me blast some facts out about it quick.
Blast the facts, and I'll just show the greatest Voivod album that's been made yet. Go ahead, blast your facts.
Man, that's some epic hot takes there.
Well, out with the facts, sir, so I can explain myself. Come on.
That record looked heavy.
Yeah, The Wake came out on September 21st, 2018 on Century Media. It was recorded at Radic Art Studio in Montreal, and it was produced by Francis Perron and the band itself. It's the first full length with Rocky and a concept album loosely in the Voivod storyline thread. So go ahead, Matt, take it away.
I'm just tickling the butthole. Just,
I was gonna say it's a cosmic
my
butthole. The butthole void.
Don't get me removed. Do
all
not
right.
get removed.
That's it. That's it for this stream. If it wasn't for the naked 18-year-olds and Matt rubbing some butthole, we'd be onto something here. But,
Well, wait a minute. The only thing I want to know, though, Matt, is Matt, is if you're tickling that butthole.
Yep, that's good.
Will you tickle my butthole later? I'm just curious.
No.
All right, go ahead. Let her rip.
All right. So I am very, very partial to this record. I mean, it's one of my favorites. It's in my top 3. I have probably listened to The Wake more than I have anything else from this band, and I don't know why. I can't really put my finger on the butthole as to why this is my favorite. It just
yes,
is. I love the song Obsolete Beings. I
my God, such an amazing song.
So epic. It's so great. The End of Dormancy is just a really weird, jazzy kind of a song, and it really makes sense after what you said earlier about Chewie being a classically trained jazz musician. That really comes through on The End of Dormancy, and even on Orb Confusion, I think, too. Side B is, they're not my 3 favorite songs on this record, but those first 3 and then the last 2 on this album, Always Moving and Sonic Mycelium, they are just, man, like this is Voivod being Voivod, but being like a jazz version of Voivod, yet still being Voivod. Like I have a really hard time explaining why this is my favorite, other than I think this is their most technically proficient. I think this is very well crafted. I think they are at the absolute top of their game on this record. Is it better than the classics? Whatever. You can debate that all you want. I don't really care. But to me, this is the album for me. I saw Voivod twice on this tour. I love this record. I love everything about it. And look, there's 4 versions of the Voivod on the cover, and that cover really tells the story of this record in a way too. This is a very, very organic sounding record, and when you look at this, it looks like a woodsy, organic kind of a record, and it ties into the feeling of this. It's such a quirky, fun album that just sounds natural. It sounds like Chewie really came into the fold perfectly. He was really channeling everything. This is just the best. This is the Voivod record I recommend to people, and they say, Voivod. I say, shut the hell up and go listen to The Wake. And then when you come back to me tomorrow with your full report and you say, okay, yeah, it was a good record, I say, told you, bitch. So there you go. The Wake. That's all I have to say on that.
Sweet.
Back me up or kick me out. That's what I have to say about The Wake.
All right, Devon. Don't say anything stupid here.
I wasn't going to, but it's a good record. Okay, don't kill me, but it's really good. Obsolete Beings is fantastic. It's easily one of the best songs. Orb Confusion's fantastic. Event Horizon. This record's definitely solid. 9 out of 10, though. I prefer the next one, but I'll get to that in a second. But this is definitely their best record in a long time at this point. And if this would have been their last record, this would have been a fantastic note to go out on. So yeah, there's that.
Not bad.
Okay, you take me off now.
Take you off now? Matt, what do you got on that? A clear 10 out of 10 for you, right? 11 out of 10?
To me, it's beyond the 10. To me, it's an 11. It's a 12. It's a 30 out of 10. I think one of the great things, I forgot to mention it before, but if you look at The Wake as a tree, a tree has huge stump and it's got a lot of branches that come off of it with a lot of tangents and a lot of leaves. and you look at it and it can look like chaos, but when you look at it, you know it's a tree. That's how I look at The Wake. I see an album that is very clearly Voivod. It's crazy. There's a million like crazy things happening, but when you look at it, it is a perfect representation of Voivod.
And the cover
is the tree. The Wake is the Voivod tree.
The cover even actually has a tree-looking vibe to it in a way.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow, man, this is deep. I'm gonna have to think long and hard about this when we get done tonight.
Re-listen to it with that in mind. Look at it like a jazzy Voivod record that is the stem and the root, and it will make perfect sense. And it will become one of your top 3, if not a top 5 Voivod record.
It's a top 5. It's top 5 easy for me. When I get to my comments, you'll see how top it was for that year. Marty, what you got?
If you were to, this album could have been album number 6 for me. This could have been the one that came after Nothing Face. Chewy, he got it on Target Earth. He knows what he needs to do, but with this album, he is truly the spiritual successor to Piggy. Sonically, he gets it. He knows what he needs to do, and that fucking song, Obsolete Beings, is Brain Scan. Remember Brain Scan from Dimension Hatros? It's that good of a song. And I put this on this week, and I spun Obsolete Beings 6 times in a row. I'm like, man, I might as well just listen to this and not even listen to the rest of the album. But the rest of the album holds up to Obsolete Beings. But that was a great song to put as the leadoff track. It's just very well written. It's jazzy, but there's a flow to it. It doesn't seem augmented and strange. And, some of the stuff on Target Earth, it just seems like I said, he gets it, but it's just not there yet. But here it feels like kind of a full assimilation of the Piggy vibe, but with his own knowledge of music, propelling and making the riffs a little more complex and shit. But Snake sounds fantastic. The production this thing, the production on this thing is fantastic. It's organic, it's warm. It feels like it was recorded. You know what? This probably it would have been better if this came out after Dimension Hatros and then Nothing Face.
Nothing. Yeah, that's a good point.
Because the next album to me sounds like it could have come after Nothing Face. But anyway, this is a 9.5 out of 10 for me. It's really good. It's so good. I liked Target Earth a little bit. I like it more now, but when I heard this, there was no
far better.
Wow, this is
far better.
I bought this. I'm like, there is nothing I don't like about this record. It feels right. It feels like Voivod, and I listened to the shit out of it when it came out for sure. So yeah, 9.5.
Sweet. What did you give it, Devon?
9.
All right, got a couple notes on this one here. Again, first full length of Rocky. The production on it is absolutely fucking fantastic.
It's really good.
Like you said, it's warm. It almost feels like it's an analog recording. I don't know if it is or it isn't. These days, most shit is Pro Tools.
Yeah.
But man, it sounds like a fucking 2-inch tape recording, man. The guitars are just beautiful on it. For me, this album further crystallizes the best of the Hatros. Nothing Face meets Angel Rat. The Outer Limits mixture of heavy, weird, sci-fi, proggy, thrashy. But there's not really thrash on here. Although there's some good speedier riffs and things like that. But it's really the amalgamation of that 5-album period from Killing Technology through the Outer Limits for me. I don't really include Phobos and Negatron on there because I do think those 2 albums have a distinct sound difference that's pretty noticeable to those other albums. Yes, I probably referenced them a lot when I was talking about them, but those Negatron and Phobos are the heaviest monster that Voivod could be. This isn't massively heavy. it's just massively complex and beautiful. It's just
Good.
beautiful music, man.
Yeah.
The main difference is the more modern production and maturity of all the members, in my opinion. This album never loses my attention. It's captivating sonically and dense, while still sounding as weird as they ever did when Piggy was alive. And the predominant sonic architect of their overall sound, to me, is Daniel. While Target Earth made me rest easy that Voivod was in great hands with Chewy, I honestly didn't think they could ever sound this good again, but they do. Again, every track is pretty killer. Obsolete Beings, Conspiracy, and Always Moving are all super memorable and badass. End of Dormancy and Sonic Mycelium are stupid complex prog metal awesomeness with so much going on in them that it's up there with the very best prog rock masters as far as I'm concerned. But I got to be honest with you, Spherical Perspective is my favorite track. The guitar on that album, on that song, is just fucking amazing. Again, this isn't a diss on Piggy, as he was and is a legend, but Chewy's every bit as good as him, and in the soloing department,
He's better. He's
way better.
Yeah.
This is a 9.75 for me.
I mean, really, you know what? I'll take that back, because Chewy is playing in the Piggy style, so that would make Piggy better than him, because Piggy's the one that, you know, he made the sound, and Chewy's just living within the sound, you know. So
he is, but what I'm getting at is that Chewy's chops.
Yeah, he's technically a
better guitar player. And believe me, man, Piggy is a top 5 guitar player for me. He's up there with Alex Lifeson and Jerry Cantrell with regards to certain sounds, and Robert Fripp and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, from a technical standpoint, Chewy is so clean and he's so fluid, and
he's amazing.
He's fucking amazing.
He's amazing.
When this album came out in 2018, I remember it was the end of the year, and my buddy John and I, who you guys, well, Marty, you've met him. You know, we always talk a lot of prog metal and all that stuff, and I'm like, dude, this is my album of the year. Nothing's going to unseat this thing. And that was in September. So anything that had come out in 18 up to that point, I pretty much forgot about. I can't recall if I stayed with it, but I know that I probably did, because this album is just killer. I fucking love it. I love this album. It's amazing. I'm not going to say it's a 30 out of 10, Matt, but I get why you say that. I fully respect that, and just stunning. And now I have an admission to make, because of some weird shit that's been going on in my life the last few days or whatever. I was unable to get to Synchro Anarchy, so I'm not going to have anything to say about it, because I've only listened to the tracks online. I know what a terrible deep dive host I am to not listen to the last album, so I'll let you guys talk about it, because I can't say anything other than what I've heard from everybody, and that is that it's fucking amazing. And a shout out to my buddy Phil Anzalone, No Baloney Anzalone Phil, who got contact with me a couple days ago and said, "Hey man, what's your address? I'm sending you Synchro Anarchy." Too kind. Thank you, sir. So go ahead, Matt. Let it rip.
So yeah, this year's release, Synchro Anarchy, it's great. I cannot rank it higher than The Wake, like so many other people have been doing. And I think a lot of that is just because I don't have enough time spent with it to rank it that high. Whereas The Wake, I've spent a lot of time with that record. This just hasn't been out long enough for me to give it that same level of attention and dedication. Having said that, this is a great record. It is like an extension of The Wake. So if you liked The Wake, there's no reason why you wouldn't like Synchro Anarchy. The one thing that is keeping me away from putting this over The Wake is that it doesn't have the same peaks and valleys that The Wake has. It doesn't have the same tree branches that go off in a lot of other directions. This one is a lot more straightforward, but it's all of the great parts of The Wake fed through a more straightforward lens. So I can see why
I may have to disagree with you there, brother. Anyway,
okay,
go ahead.
That's fine.
No,
that's fine. Good. But I mean, I can see why a lot of people do like this one better, but to me, I'm just not there yet. but I would still say it's up there with the Wake. It's just kind of to me, it's the younger brother to the Wake, and I might just need more time with it. I'm just not there yet. I've only listened to this.
Well,
I've only listened to this about 4 times so far. I've listened to the Wake.
As you said,
more times than I can count.
It only came out 5 weeks ago. So
yeah. So but people are praising the hell out of this record, and I love that. I love that people absolutely love this record, and I do like the singles off of this album a lot. Paranormalium is great. Planet Eaters was great. Mind Clock was great. There's a lot of great stuff on this record. Don't get me wrong. Me personally, I like the Wake better, and it just doesn't go as far as the Wake to my ears yet. So I know Marty is chomping at the bit to disagree with me and throw me under the bus.
My
disagreement. Let's go ahead and let Marty throw me under the bus.
Hey, real quick before we jump into that, artist formerly known as Craig, last name, he mentioned Snake's vocals, and I believe we are talking about the Wake. That I forgot to mention that, man. Snake really sounds like a really damn good vocalist on that album.
Yep,
and that's not something that I find myself always saying. I love Snake, but I would never call him a classic great singer. But man, he sounds really good on the Wake. He sounds really good. So I don't know. I will say, and Marty, maybe you could speak to this a little better, you or Matt. The production on this new album, it's the same guy, this Francis Perrin guy, and I don't know what he did on the Wake, but man, he pulled something out of them that just sounds so fucking good. And particularly with regards to Snake, he's never sounded better. The Wake is really just an amazing high mark for him as far as his vocals. So, yeah, good point there. Formerly artist Craig named something.
Devin, I didn't mean to skip you. Do you mind?
Oh, shit. Yeah, I'm sorry, Devin. My bad. We'll come back to you next.
Okay. My thing is this. If I would put the Wake, let's say that is the modern spiritual embodiment of Dimension Hatros. Synchro Anarchy is the modern spiritual embodiment of Nothing Face.
Ooh.
One thing I love about Nothing Face is, remember how I was saying how Piggy and Blackie, they were on a different, they were like I said, a married couple completing each other's sentences, how the bass and the guitar interacted and played off of each other. That is happening all over this album. I mean, what knocked my dick in the dirt about this record is the fact that I think the Wake, the songs are better. They flow better. They're angular. They sound like Voivod, and it sounds amazing. But on this, the musicianship is a lot more angular. And the way, I think it was Synchro Anarchy, and there's another song in here where it sounds like a fucking machine dysfunction, like malfunctioning.
Mind Clock.
Yeah, it's like where the fucking guitar and the bass were like completely like skipping, and like as they skipped each note, it's like they kind of combined into this weird fucking fractaled fucking line of tone. And it blew me away. I'm just like, holy fuck, how do they write and figure this shit out? It reminded me of Nothing Face. It reminded me of the interaction between Blackie and Piggy at their high point. And wow. I mean, I'm going to give this the exact same grade as the Wake, 9.5. But it's, like I said, this is Dimension Hatros. This is Nothing Face. Maybe this is a little bit more aggressive than Nothing Face. It's a lot sonically, a lot more clinical sounding. It's a lot cleaner production than the Wake. The Wake is, like Jeff said, is very analog sounding. It's got a warm feeling to it. This is very crisp. The guitar and the bass are very separate. Snake is very separate. The drums everything has got its own really clean. It's like they're in an operating room on some fucking spaceship, about to anal probe somebody.
Oh yeah.
But this album is fucking awesome, and this album is fucking awesome. I'm not going to sit here and tell you one is better than the other, but this album musically is more angular. That's more Voivod-ish. Dan is like fully locked in at this point. He knows he knows his history. He's played and studied Piggy's his modes and techniques and all this crap, and he's put in his own jazz shit in here, and it is so fucking good. The musicality on this is top notch album. Really good.
I think you might have actually put the pin on the head as to why maybe I'm still stuck on the Wake over Synchro Anarchy. Synchro Anarchy is much more clinical.
Great. It's like Nothing Face.
Whereas the Wake is much more organic, and I just like the organic feel of it. It feels more like that sonic mycelium. Like,
Dimension
you know what
Hatros
mycelium is, you know what that's all about. So
Dimension Hatros, it had that very warm feeling too.
Yeah.
And then Nothing Face came out and it was very clean.
Yep. I think that sums it up right there. And that's probably why I like Dimension Hatros over Nothing Face too.
Sure.
So.
Yep.
All right, Devin, what do you think?
It's good.
Yeah, all right, moving on. So
okay, moving on. What do you got?
Holy fuck.
What you got, son?
Honestly, this is one of my top 3 or 4 favorite albums in their entire discography. This one really surprised me. Should I say another stupid opinion?
Well, you're full of them, so why not? Why stop now, right?
I like this better than Nothing Face. Yes, I will do that.
I mean, it's not a stupid opinion.
Yeah.
I will say this does Nothing Face better than Nothing Face did at the time. It has that style that's more interesting, which...
Wow.
It's more aggressive. I would say it's more aggressive.
Yeah, I've listened to this a lot. Like the first week I had it, no joke, I probably listened to it close to 20 times. It was probably the first 3 days all I listened to was this. I'm not sure why. It was just like...
Attaboy.
This and this and this. I'm like, holy fuck, so... Nothing this year is going to top it. I'm calling it fucking March album of the year. I will be surprised if anything top this. But yeah, easily the best record for me since the Outer Limits. One of the top 3 or 4 records in their entire discography. So well done, Voivod.
Devon Maze of Torment
Mic
with
drop.
Big time take there, folks.
The takedown, Nothing Face. Suck it.
So ranking 15 out of 10.
Yeah, I feel really shitty that I was unable to get that, but I've had a rough day or two. There's been a lot going on in my world, and although I had a rough time getting into doing this because I had some heavy shit I was dealing with towards the end of the week, and today I goofed up. So I goofed up and didn't get to that one. But apparently, according to Phil, that's headed my way on Monday. Phil, I love you, buddy. You're too kind. You don't have to do that. We already discussed that, but I love you for doing that.
We can talk about it.
What did you think of the songs you've heard so far? I mean, you've heard the singles off of the record.
Yeah,
so
the
far.
3 songs. I love them all. I mean,
yeah, just talk about those, and you're good.
Yeah, I mean, to me, they sounded like a natural extension of the Wake in a lot of ways. A little tighter, a little more compact and concise. Because let's be honest, the Wake has some really nice long tracks on it that are very proggy. They're very forward thinking while still dipping the toes back into the OG Hatros, Nothing Face, Outer Limits vibe. And, I think here's the bottom line on Voivod. They've created such a unique space in music and sound that when they honestly did something a little atypical, which was try to make like a hard rock record like the Jason era, it just didn't sound right, man. It just wasn't right. And yes, Piggy was still playing guitar and all that, but it didn't sound like the Voivod that I came to fall in love with and with Nothing Face. And so now that we're back to that in the last, the last 3 albums and the EP, it's like I got my band back. This was the band that when I got into Nothing Face, none of my fucking friends could get it. I took Nothing Face to a wing party. We, a bunch of us couples, young couples, because we're at this time when Nothing Face came out, I think I'm 24, 25 in that range, 23, 24. Remember, I'm an old motherfucker. And I put that on, and everybody's like, "What the? Can you please take this off? Put some Megadeth on or something." It's like, no, man, this is the shit. None of my friends really got it or understood it. And I fucking loved that. I love the fact that they didn't get it, because it was like, this is my little secret here.
Mm-hmm.
And they're back to that band, and they've kind of been back there. And like I said, man, yes, Away and Snake are the core, but Chewie fucking brought them back from the brink, so to speak. And when they were losing me and kind of had lost me, to hear Target Earth, and I feel exactly like you did, Marty. It's like, man, I want to really go fucking haywire on this album, but I'm not quite there yet with it. And then going back to it again yesterday and listen to it, go, oh, okay, much better than I remembered it.
Yep.
But man,
because we know how the story ends, but at the time it was like,
well, that's true. That's a good point.
Exactly.
That's a good point. It's always it's recency bias, right?
Yep.
You know, and that's the one thing with these newer albums. Is it recency bias? I don't think so, because I can go put the Wake on like I did this afternoon and just fully fucking dive in and immerse myself in it and go, oh, it's like a big, nice, warm hug from a hot porn star. I didn't say that. It's just so good. Like,
Ron Jeremy,
all right, where's the NZ
Ron Jeremy?
18-year-olds? Where are you at, brother?
Hey man, if you could talk about buttholes, I can talk about porn stars.
Rex
anyway.
Chandler.
But yeah, man, this it's just this is a band that it just seems like now they're kind of going from strength to strength, and that is so cool. Before we end things here, though, let's really quick touch on some live experience. You guys want to do that quick for 10 minutes, because we're not even at 12 o'clock yet. So Marty and I have the common experience of seeing that Nothing Face tour for the first time. I knew about him. You knew about him or didn't before you went? You did know about him, right?
Me? Oh, I was a total fan.
And that's
fan
why
for
you
many
went to
years.
see. Okay, right.
I was there to see Voivod. Yeah.
And like we said, clearly Soundgarden was kind of the winner in that because of their sheer power, and
they're amazing.
And that was before they hit the more popular MTV era, which I like a lot of that stuff. But I mean, Chris Cornell was just a fucking god up there, and they were so fucking heavy. But Voivod was just so cool. And I don't know if I told the rest of the story about the gig at the end when Voivod was doing their last track, which I don't really remember what it was. The guys from Soundgarden and Faith No More came out on the stage. It was Cornell, Kim Thayil, Big Jim Martin from the weird, funny looking dude with a weird, They come out on stage, and Jim Martin is wearing a lab coat. Now, he had shorts on and, like, I don't know, like a jean jacket, like a sleeveless jean jacket or something. They come out and they start squirting the Voivod guys with ketchup and mustard bottles, those things that you see in a roadside cafe. And they're just coating these guys. They're throwing fucking French fries at them. And I know the owner of this club, and he is freaking the fuck out. He is so pissed off. He's like, these motherfuckers are trashing my place. And next thing I know, Snake walks over to Big Jim Martin, lifts up his lab coat, and there it is. Cocksmith in full glory. There's fucking Big Jim hanging out, floating in the breeze. And I'm like, did I just see that guy's cock? I think I did, man. What the fuck? So crazy shit there. But then flash forward, I don't see Voivod until the Target Earth tour. A lot of years there. So we're talking 1990 to 2013. Right?
Yep.
Is that right? Yeah, 2013.
Yeah, 90.
So, man, wow, 90 to 2000, that's 23 fucking years. I didn't see that band, which is kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And then I did see them, and they were, right away, man. Chewie on stage is just a joy to watch. The guy is loving.
He's great. He loves it.
He's loving life. He's loving being up there. He's loving paying homage to his guitar hero, Piggy. And he's great live. He's just a lot of fun. I did see him with Blackie, that tour. And I also, obviously, Marty and I saw him with Blackie for Nothing Face. And then I saw him for
Was
Post
Blackie
Society.
playing that black fucking death machine? Oh, it's so cool.
It's called a Liberator.
Legator, or is it
Liberator?
Okay,
Liberator. Yeah. It's a Canadian. It's Canadian man.
Yeah, he made him and Piggy's instruments for a lot of years.
And then I saw him for Post Society, and they had Vector open, and Vector is a prog thrash band that pays supreme homage to Voivod.
Yep.
And they were fucking cool, but this goes back to what Jurgen said about only 60 people at a gig. I'm there to see Voivod, and Vector was a big surprise. They were fucking amazing. They were amazing. And there's about 350 people in the same club that I saw them at back in the 90 Nothing Face tour. And when Vector is over, about 2/3 of the crowd
leaves.
Gone.
It was the same.
And I was
same when I saw him.
And dude, I was fucking pissed off. I was pissed. Like, I'm like, how the fuck? How dare these fucking idiots walk out of here? Yeah. How stupid are they? And Voivod crushed. I mean, they were in front of maybe 60 people, 50, 60 people, and they just fucking were fantastic. And after the show, got to talk to Dan, got to talk to Rocky, got to talk to Away. They were just super cool. And then I saw him twice on the Wake tour. I saw him with Yob, which they opened for Yob. And I'm sorry. That's wrong. As an aside, though, I'm going to tell you straight up, Yob is fucking amazing live. Yeah. Mammoth. Just mammoth.
Completely different type of band, though.
Yeah, I mean, very different. Very weird bill. It was incredible, though. It was an incredible show. Voivod was super upbeat, super fucking, Snake is having fun, and Chewy's running around laughing and having fun. And they're doing, they did, I don't remember the set. I'd have to pull it up, but it was fantastic. And Yob was very much more an emotional, deep, intense sort of thing. And again, I'm not turning this into a Yob love fest here, but they blew my fucking mind live. Met Mike after the show. He's an amazing fucking dude. But I also hung out with Chewy. And real quick, I don't think I showed this. If I did, I apologize for it. Maybe I did. I guess I did. Did I show this?
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I did. This is the Worlds Away book that Martin Popoff did with Away. Matt, you talked about it, and you do a great deep dive. So go to Matt's channel and check out his deep dive on this.
The Dark Path.
What's that?
The Dark Path.
The Dark Path. Sorry, yeah. And actually got this one signed to me by Away and chatted at him for quite a while. Super cool. They were all super cool guys. They're super cool to talk to. No pretension at all. I mean, Snake's a little bit out there. Like, he just doesn't seem like he's all there all the time. But Chewy was fantastic. And the reason I sent Chewy an email tonight was I remembered that when I talked to him at that show in April 2018 and got that down in Philly, I asked him, I said, dude, I'm trying to find your Martyr CDs online, and I'm getting anally raped on these things. Like, anyone that's selling them is selling them for $60 a pop. And I just don't, no offense, I want them, but I don't want them that bad. And he's like, hit me with an email. So I sent an email a couple of nights later, and it bounced, and I tried it again through his website. And tonight I was thinking about that, and I'm like, fuck, I need to email him. I emailed Dan and said, hey, man, I'm looking for these again. I talked to you 2-3 years ago. If you can find, just get back to me. I said, by the way, we're doing a deep dive on my YouTube channel, and here are the links for it. So I sent him the links. Who knows whether we'll look at them or not, but I hope he does. But, and I also said, if you want to come on and do an interview, I'd love to interview you. So I'll let you guys know if that happens. Would have been cool if I could have brought him in tonight and talked to us, but that's how shit rolls. So, and then the last time I saw him was with Revocation. And I can't remember who the fuck opened that. I think Revocation opened. Can't remember. But that was, so 5 times for me. Every time is always great. And yeah, Piggy is very much missed. And Blackie's missed too, because Blackie live is great. He's very animated, and
he's a great bass player.
Great bass player, yeah. But long live Voivod. So Marty, how about you? You want to talk about
I've just seen him the once. It was my second show ever. Well, in Detroit, it was at St. Andrews Hall in Detroit, a small theater. I had heard Faith No More. They were all over MTV at the time. I didn't care. I never heard Soundgarden and was utterly blown away how good and heavy they were. The crowd was there for them. As soon as they were done, everybody left, and there was about 15, 20 people left for Voivod, and they were great. Rumbled through the, I've had all their shit for a long time, but Dimension and Nothing Face were the two that I was there to see, and they played a lot of stuff off both those albums. It was great. And I remember standing next to the bar, and this hot little chick asked me to lift her up on the bar, so I picked her up, sat her on the bar, and I lit her a cigarette for her, and that was pretty cool. But other than that, that's the only time I've seen them. I wish I've seen them more, but I'm up here in Traverse City, Michigan. Half the time shit goes through the southern states, and I don't hear about it until after the fact. So it's always been that way. Just the way
Matt made the point about the fact that Voivod did a lot of like festivals, but they weren't doing a lot of tours in the States for various periods of time when they were like, I don't remember them being out with Jason Newsted at all. I guess they were, and they probably were, but I don't remember them at all. So
what's that? What's that, Matt?
Jurgen brought this up. Cosmos. This was a 2007 side project that Away had done. This is kind of a jam band, krautrock project that Away was a part of, and he did the artwork on this, plays drums. It's a good little album. You can get. He was
this also a part of Tau Cross as well.
You can get this super cheap. You can get this for like $3-4. I mean, it's widely available for dirt.
Who's on that?
Nobody
Who's
cares.
on that, Matt? Anybody of note? Or
Away, and that's it.
No, that's it. Okay.
Yeah, everybody else, I don't know who they are. Vincent Peake, Alex Crow, and Jet Phil. No idea who those people
are. Doesn't mean anything to me, yeah.
So good stuff, though. Good stuff.
He was
and
also
then how about you for live shows?
Live stuff. So yeah, I mean, I've seen them a handful of times. I saw that tour that they did with Vector. Vector opened up for them. I was a huge Vector fan at the time, so it was really cool to see both of those bands together, watching the children play homage to their fathers, and then watching the fathers show them what's what. That was a great show. I saw them again. I don't know who they were playing with for the Wake when I saw them with the Wake. I think it might have been that Yob tour, but I left after Voivod. I didn't stick around for Yob, and they were great. And then when I saw them with Revocation when they were touring, that was also for the Wake.
Yeah,
They were still touring for the Wake for that one.
Yeah, it was the second round.
The second round, and that's where I had kind of a run-in with Away. Like, I didn't have a run-in with him. I was just like, man, what a fucking dick. So this is what happened. So I was front row center because, huge Voivod fan. So I was right up front watching the whole thing. I'm singing along to every song. I'm really into it. And standing right next to me is a dude with his girlfriend. Girlfriend is clearly not into it. She's just there because she's the girlfriend with her boyfriend, and she's stuck at the Voivod show, right? And you could tell she was not a fan of the band whatsoever. So at the end of the show, when they were done, everyone in the band was giving fist bumps and high fives to everybody in the crowd. Well, Away comes down the stage with the set list, and he's bringing it to that girl. He was going to give it to the girl. I said, no fucking way. So I put my hand up to try to get it, and he brushed me aside. It was like, no. And then he gave it to her. And I was like, dude, you gave it to the one person here who
doesn't give a fuck.
Does not give a fuck. Does not deserve it. So I was like, man, you fell for some pussy. Come on, man. And that was my little run in with Away. But I get it. She was pretty. She was a pretty little girl, but
the age-old trap. I mean, I'm gonna make a highly misogynistic statement here. Voivod is not a chick band. I'm sorry. If you think Rush is pussy repellent, Voivod is mega pussy repellent. It's just the reality of it.
I'm not going to go that far. I've never met any females that are into Voivod, but I've never met any females that are into a lot of the weirdo shit that we listen to as well.
That's probably a good point.
So, hats off to the women of the world that love Voivod. I'm glad you're there. But this girl, I'm telling you, she was not a metalhead. She was just there with her boyfriend. She did not deserve to have that set list. So,
well, her boyfriend, who was a fan, ended up with that set list, so it all worked out. Come out in the wash.
Maybe.
My
I didn't even think of that. You're probably right. So there you go.
Probably, yeah. My interaction with the 3 or 4 times I met him has always been positive. He's pretty quiet. He's pretty chill. He was very cool to me that day. But who knows? I mean, I don't know. And I'm trying to remember. I met Piggy. But he was very, very shy, man.
His English, I don't think, was very good.
Huh?
I don't think his English was very
Probably
good.
not. And he was, I'm not a very large dude. I think you guys are all 6 foot plus. I'm 5'7.5" on a good day. I lie to the girls though at Voivod shows. I always tell them I'm 5'8" when I meet them there. But what's that?
You're 5'8", but it's just cold in the room. Never mind.
You just went swimming, right? You just went swimming.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, like Piggy was tiny to me. Like I think he was only like 5'2". He was a real short dude. But yeah, he did. I think back then in '90, he probably knew a lot less English than he came to know as they got more popular. One last thing to show here. I got this in. Marty, did you order one or?
I did not yet. I
held off.
I need to. I'm trying not to spend money right now.
Yeah,
it's never
I had
worked.
to have it to complete the triumvirate. Now I've got Roar, Killing Technology. Where they're buried, I have Roar out, but I gotta find the Killing Technology one. That once again, Nicky Goods. I don't know if he's here anymore, but he sent me that, which was super cool. This is great. It's got the original album on it. The Spectrum 1988, A Flawless Structure, live in Montreal, December 21st, 1988 show. And then on the DVD, it's got audio of the Dimension Hatrods demos, which I haven't checked out yet. Live at Blondie's, live at Axiom in
Blondie's
Houston.
from Michigan, the old club.
Detroit, Michigan. Live at Anthrax, Norwalk, Connecticut. And then live at Fender's Ballroom in Long Beach, California. Those are all November and December 88 shows. So about 2 years before we saw them, Marty.
Yep.
And then there's a slideshow of artwork from the album and live and studio photos. So this one you still can get on Amazon, although the guy that I got it from only had like 3 copies left after I snagged my copy. So I can't find the Killing Technology and Roar one anymore. They were out there. I'm sure they'll reappear, but these are very much well worth having because they're $18 or $20, I think, with tax. That's less than $7 a disc. I think that's a good deal, and it's a well done package.
It's one of my all time favorite albums. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Was the tour with Revocation Skeletal Remains opening?
Yes,
but I missed them which pissed me off. Yeah. I missed them because where I was going down in Philly, I got caught up in bad traffic, and by the time I got there, they were over. So, but I can't remember who opened. Was it Revocation one before?
No, Voivod played before Revocation when I saw him, but I don't know if they ever flip-flopped. I know Voivod played first when I saw him, and I do not care about Revocation, so I left after Voivod. Skeletal Remains was awesome, but
wait, was it Revocation, Voivod, some logo I can't read, Skeletal Remains, Conjurer?
Yeah, it was like a whole bunch of
might
bands.
have been there. They might
and
have
some
been there.
band logo. Oh wait,
yeah,
Psychotic?
It was all those bands, but I didn't catch the early bands because I got there late, which is usually not my trip. I usually do like to catch early bands, but I just couldn't get there because
the other band was Psychroptic.
Oh yeah, that's right. Psychroptic was there. They were good. I like Psychroptic. They're a good band. That's right. That was like 2-3 years ago, though. So
that was 18, almost 5 years ago.
Yeah, been a while.
Yeah, it's crazy. He says they don't even. Yeah, I mean, they do a lot of the festivals. I'm sure they get good money to do those. And let's be honest, they're much more popular in in Europe than they are in the States and in Canada. And Jurgen wasn't gloating yet, but I think I saw somewhere where he's seen them over 30 or 35 times. So he's definitely got us beat. Like I said, I should have just invited him and fucked you guys all off, but I'm a nice guy. What can I say?
He's actually done like a 2 or 3 part Voivod show on his channel.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool. So yeah, anyways, I want to thank everybody that tuned in for chiming in for commenting, and
we were averaging like 30 viewers most of the time, so
for checking us out. I want to thank Marty and Matt for all the extra subs I've got. I think I bounced about 45 subs in about a week, which is pretty cool.
You're welcome.
I'm not
thanking
you, Devon, because God knows nobody tuned in to see you here tonight. Come on, man.
Although he is beautiful. He is.
But I will say this. And I mean this. We fuck with you a lot, and we fuck you off a lot.
Devon, you're okay with me, brother. All good.
It's on good fun. Except for today, that one thing where you kept saying, "Why does he say this?" And I'm like, dude, it says we, not he. Read. I am putting you in remedial reading class at some point in time. But long story short, you had some very good takes throughout the week when we were talking about this stuff, Devon, and you're a little quiet today.
I'll try not to punch you if I see you at MDF, but no promises.
Dude, I don't care if you're 6'4". I will take your nuts out in one shot, and you will be down crying like a little bitch. And so, yeah. Anyways, yeah, I'm hoping I do get to run into Matt and Mr. Devon at the MDF. I'm not going to be able to do all those days because I'm just too fucking old. And we'll see where my health takes me. There's a lot of stuff that's coming up I got to go through, and who knows what's going to happen. But, like I said, my birthday's on Thursday. I'm hoping I make it to 56. But you're gonna.
Positive
thoughts, man. And before we end this, I wanted to end the stream with a Voivod quote, which is apt for both situations, both for you, our good friend Jeff, and for the Voivod deep dive as a whole. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read the quote from The Wake, my favorite Voivod album. This goes out to everybody. Admiring the stars that no longer exist while searching for those yet to be seen.
That's
Good
a
night,
great
everybody.
quote.
Good night, everybody.
Is that a lyric from which song, Matt?
It's just on the back of the booklet.
Oh, it's on the okay. That's a great fucking quote.
So there you go.
Cool. Anyway, look, guys, appreciate it. I think Rick is doing a stream on his channel afterwards.
Yep.
So anyone that wants to keep hearing us fucktards talk about stuff that we don't really know that much about, like all the logos are different, which they are, technically speaking. How's that crow taste, my friend? But I want to thank Matt for actually bringing this up and saying, "Hey, dude, let's do a collab," because we would have been competing, and I think this collab was very, very good. I really do.
Yeah.
And I will say, the first part, in a week's time, I have 634 views. It's gonna surpass my Opeth, which was my number one video. So it's racing. Somebody out there likes this package here. It's good. Marty, I want to thank you for chiming in and jumping in. I know you've been doing a lot of streams lately. You're probably fucking burnt out, but you love this shit. And you know it's
fun. No, and Voivod is one of those bands, or one of my favorites, man. And it was, if it didn't happen here, it would have happened on my channel. I'm glad it happened here. It's all good. 2
other quick programming notes. I mentioned the one about, Devon, thank you very much. I was not fucking you off. I just, I do appreciate it. And you're going to be on some future ones. I would like you to talk a little bit more, but I know that's not your strong suit. And you'll just say, "Oh, but you talk too much." So there
you kind of do, but
that's because I'm fucking brilliant. What can I say? Just 2 programming notes. We're going to try to dig into the Enslaved catalog soon, maybe next weekend. And I'm hoping that in mid-April, and we may have to do that, like 1 episode on Enslaved, and then jump for a week, because I have a pretty fucking cool interview coming up with a guy from the second wave of the thrash scene. And
I already know who it is. I already know who it is.
I do too, and I forbid you to say who it is, sir.
I didn't say who it was. I'm just saying that there may be a deep dive on a kick-ass group of albums from that second wave of thrash, and one of the guys that was involved in writing all the material may be on Gas Mask and Hand Grenades. So stay tuned, because that information should be coming up in the next week or so.
We have to figure that out. You have to figure that out step by step, though.
Well, step by step, we'll get there. So, anyways, guys, thank you very much. And Jurgen, thanks for jumping in, man. I know it's very late over there for you. And yeah, it's Solierna. How did you know, Rick? God damn it, you ruin everything, man. You guys take care. Appreciate it.
Good night, guys.
Later.